Good morning, Daybreak watchers. We're going to get going in a little less than 45 seconds.
From protecting water to treaty rights and preserving languages and traditions, we cover it all. Hear voices like Arvina Martin of Emerge Wisconsin, Dr. Stately, Robert Lilligren, and more. Because Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
Native Roots Radio, weeknights at 8 on your local Civic Media radio station.
This is Jeff Santos. From corporate greed to government corruption, social justice to economic inequality, we tell it like it is. No fluff, just facts. Join me
Good morning!
Morning!
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. We've talked the whole night through.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
This is where Wisconsin wakes up. It's Daybreak with Brian Noonan and Jamie Martinson. Here are your hosts, Brian and Jamie.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Hey, how are you? It's 6:06.
Good, welcome back. Yes, Jamie is back. This is Daybreak. So you decided to grace us with your presence again.
I did.
Where were you? What was going on? What did you do? Did you bring us back souvenirs? All the big questions.
We had so many suitcases and everything was full because what you forget is when you're doing basically an 8-day trip, it requires a lot, especially when you need the carry-on so that you can do air travel. And then you have to come back and you have to have like the big suitcase for all the meetings and all of that. So no, nobody got souvenirs, including us, which was sad and a little depressing. But we did get good memories, so that's good. But no, it was a whirlwind trip. It literally started last Saturday morning, so a week ago over the weekend. We flew out of Minnesota, and then we ended up after a 14-hour travel day. Let me tell you, 14 hours of air travel.
Can we jump back for a minute? Because this was the money-saving flight that your husband found that took you to Baltimore and then Brazil and then to Boston.
Yes, this is exactly. Okay. Now, what I love about this trip is my husband decided that he was going to, because he didn't want to deal with the crowds because of how early we had to leave. So he's like, all right, let's just fly out of Rochester. Now, the best part about this is when he looked at the drive time of getting from our house to the Rochester airport, he's like, oh, it's going to be about 3 hours. Well, of course, he did it during rush hour. It's like 2 hours. So he has us out of the house at 6 a.m. for a 10:30 flight, right? So we get to the Rochester airport. We're driving, and he says to me as we're driving, check the parking at the Rochester airport. And I said, it's the Rochester airport. It's not going to be that big. Well, you aren't going to just pull up to the front door. Turns out at the Rochester airport, you do pull up to the front door.
Nice.
And you take 6 steps to get inside. So
but where do you leave your car? Does it?
There's just a big parking lot. It's one big parking lot.
Okay.
It's literally 6 steps from the front door, which is crazy. And when you get in, there's literally 5 gates. That's it. All on one level. I think there was an upstairs for gates 1 and 2, but the gate we needed was on the main level. So we sat at the bar. He had a lovely morning drink after he realized that his license was expired, and then had to renew it sitting at the bar. Turns out that if your license expires, you can fly on it for 2 years.
Is that right?
Yes, 2 years. We checked into it. You can fly with an expired license for 2 years, folks.
That
Just a little
safe.
tip. It doesn't seem safe. We were surprised.
But take your shoes off.
That's right. But in the state of Wisconsin, you can renew your license online. So he did that sitting at the bar, enjoying a very early morning drink. We got on our nice flight to Minneapolis, where we had a 3.5-hour layover. And then finally we were able to travel. It was a 14-hour day before we got to Boston late on Saturday night. In fact, he looked at me and goes, do you want to go out to dinner? I said, no. I said, I want to go to the motel and I want to DoorDash something, and we'll start
14 hours.
It was such a long day. Such a long day.
That's why people hate travel. I've only done a layover once, and I swore I would never do it again. I would rather walk than have a layover because you're just wasting time. You're just wasting time.
Unfortunately, with the way air travel is right now, with a lot of the places we've had to go recently, we haven't had a choice. Layovers were literally our only option. But we had a lovely time on Mother's Day in Boston. Got to see so many of the historic sites. And I mean, this was a whirlwind tour, right? Like we had a day and a half before meetings and things. And then before we had to fly out on Tuesday, but we got to see a lot of the city. So I was excited about that. Boston is just one of those great East Coast cities. It's got that big city vibe, but it's a lot more laid back than like a New York, right? So I can always get into Boston.
Plus a better accent, more Dunkin'.
Yes, and then had dinner in the North End and some real homemade Italian on Mother's Day. So with a bakery that was open 24 hours that had some of the best cannoli I've ever had in my life. So there's that part of it. Had our meetings on Tuesday, and then we got back on a plane Tuesday afternoon, flew back to Rochester on Tuesday night. Yes, and we got back to Rochester about 11:30. Then we had to turn around and drive back to Minneapolis, where we had already had a layover. And then we got to the hotel about 12:30. And our next conference for the Big Deals program, all of these really great certificates that you can buy at a discount throughout the Civic Media Network. Check the app, by the way. We had a convention for that for a couple of days, saw some folks from the Civic Network, saw some folks that we just have known for a really long time at this convention. So it was good to be in Minneapolis. Had a nice boat trip one night for the little bit of a fun mixer with a live band. So we got to do that.
It's a convention. You get to do those kind of fun things.
Yeah, some barbecue and all of that on a boat, and it was a gorgeous night on the Mississippi River in St. Paul. Before the wind kicked up the next day. And then we got done with the convention Thursday at around 11:30, and we got in the car and we drove to Ely, Minnesota, because for a really long time we've been trying to put a big FM signal on the air, and they finally got some antenna bays, so watch for more news if you are a fan of Ely, Minnesota radio. And hello, anytime you wake up on a Saturday to polka hour, it's a good day. Now, what I will say is that the trip ended with me having the stomach flu and having to drive home like that on Saturday, and my husband is also sick.
Terrific. So what day will you be taking off because you're sick now this week? Is that tomorrow?
I am fine. I am 100% feeling better. It was I don't know what it was. It was like probably a 24-hour bug, and by yesterday afternoon I was feeling 100% better.
Well, that's good.
But my husband, not so much. He's not feeling so great. His is, he thinks it's COVID. He's tested.
Oh, jeez.
I don't know.
Parker, make Jamie wear a mask so you don't get.
I'm negative. We've been testing. Testing.
I was wiping down the studio all of last week because I was sick last week.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I've been
Holy
testing
smokes.
just in case, but no, it was a fast trip. It was a good trip, and but anytime you walk into the door and you're greeted with puppy kisses and things, it's even better to get home.
She made it through. That's good. I'll tell you, I'm finding the easiest job in the world would probably be your travel agent, because you don't care where you're flying in and out of. You will take whatever haphazard flights I could muster up.
I am telling you,
that is the most inconvenient flights.
To fly out of Rochester, literally, to fly from Rochester to Minneapolis to Boston, saved us almost $150 per person per leg of the trip. If we would have just gone to Minneapolis, and then it was going to be almost $1,500 per person to fly from Minneapolis to Boston. By taking the Rochester route, we were able to save about $150 to $200 per person per leg. That is how air travel is right now. So
yeah, that's why I stay home. That's why I don't take a day off. I just stay home. We don't need to go anywhere. If we can't drive it, we ain't going.
Yeah. If you have to travel, book early. That would be, and this one was one that we tried to book early. The Boston trip was it was business meetings, essentially why we were there. So that kept getting moved by the people we were meeting with on their end. So we couldn't just lock in a date, and we couldn't just say, this is when we're going, because we had to wait on their schedule. So, but we made it. It's
well,
good.
You didn't miss anything last week. Nothing happened. There was no news. We
Boring.
basically just made animal sounds. We sang parody songs. Parker played the spoons for, I think, 2 hours on Friday. It was
At least two.
At
least 2 hours.
Yeah.
It was a
Couple.
great. I do want to just say one thing for our executive producer, Frank. Let's go White Sox. But now we move on from that, and we. Did you guys
you
experience?
just move on. Just move on, Brian.
Frank?
Keep it moving.
Frank, were
2
you
out
at
of
that
3,
game
first
yesterday?
place. That's all
You
I
were
want to
at-
say.
You were at that game yesterday?
I was at that
believe?
game yesterday.
How was that feeling?
I was angry.
I'll tell you, I
No
listened
words.
for the first time. I went old fashioned. I listened to the whole game on the radio. It was
Listen to
magical.
Len Casper.
Oh, nice.
I listened to Len Casper, former Cubs play-by-play man. Darren Jackson still needs to go. I will say that as a Sox fan. But it was so nice to just be like out working in the yard or whatever, and then sitting and relaxing, listening to the game on the radio. So we carry the Brewers games on this network.
Mm-hmm.
I say listen on the radio once in a while.
Yeah.
Sit outside or take a drive, listen to the game. It really kicks up your imagination, and depending on how good the announcers are, and the Brewers have a great radio team, you're going to get the picture anyway. It's terrific. So,
Yeah.
And I got to text a little bit during the game to my good friend Frank.
Which Brian initiated.
I did.
You
He
still
said, "How are
look
you
happy."
feeling?" He said, "How are you feeling?" when the Cubs were down 3, and then they tied it up. And then Brian sent me a curse word, thinking that the tables were going to turn. Don't worry. Don't worry. The Cubs turned into the Cubs.
Well, the Sox
And the
turned
White
into the
Sox got
Sox.
the
That's the
dance
problem.
out of there.
But yesterday they did not. So that was fun. All right, Parker, Jamie, did you experience the mesoscale convective vortex yesterday?
The what?
I don't. I figured Jamie would know what this is. Dane County experienced a mesoscale
Yes.
convective vortex yesterday morning that triggered phone alerts, according to a meteorologist with the National Weather Service. Weather was bad across the center, going from the southwest to the northeast in Wisconsin. Weather was really, really bad yesterday.
It was really bad, and we've already had thunderstorms this morning. Very warm,
Nice.
very humid today. But in case you're wondering, if you saw those alerts on your phone yesterday, a mesoscale convective vortex is this low-pressure center that pulls winds into a pattern that almost looks tornadic because they start circulating. And so they issued a tornado warning because of that yesterday. And if you were sitting at home going, what is happening? Not much, as it turns out. The sirens went off. You had all the alerts on the phone. There was a little bit of wind and then a whole lot of rain for, I don't know, about 5 minutes or so. And then within about an hour and a half, the sun came out.
That's
and
nice.
then, so it wasn't anything too bad. I will say, though, that all of the travels we've had across the state over the last few days, holy buckets, are we lucky to have the moisture we have here in this portion of the state compared to what they're dealing with in the north. It is,
It's
it is
drought city up there.
bone dry up there, bone dry, like scarily so, especially with the fact that, camping season and boating season and people are starting to come into the
they
area. It is
pulled the
scary up there.
burn permits again on Saturday.
Yeah.
That
yeah,
whole
it
area.
is.
No fires, no nothing.
It's so weird because they actually in Ely just lost snow about a couple of weeks ago, literally. So the trees are just starting to bud up there when you're walking around Ely. There is absolutely no leaves yet on trees because it was so cool. In fact, when we left the other day, it was going to be a high of 58.
Nice. Well, Jamie's back. Things are back to normal. And are you worried about measures by the administration to affect elections? Well, we'll talk about that and more. This is Daybreak. I'm Brian Noonan.
I'm Jamie Martinson, 619 right now. You are listening to the Civic Media Network.
Oh, Jamie, just so you know, I went the entire week. I only missed one break, and that was because Francesca Hong would not zip it.
No. You pitched her another question with 30 seconds left.
I had to get.
Ooh, you tell him, Parker.
Well, I had to get the unusual question in, and it got us a great clip.
It did.
She did have a great answer.
So
she had a lot to say, as Francesca usually does.
I had to get the fun answer in, and it got it. I will stand by being late for that break because it did get us a really good answer.
What was the question?
As a chef, what's a restaurant trend that you're tired of seeing?
Ooh, what was her answer?
Stop messing with tots.
Oh,
and leave ketchup alone. I don't want artisan ketchup. I want Heinz.
There we go. No, that's a good one.
Yep.
Yeah. Why does ketchup have so many pairings? Right, they've got the mayo chop and
things. Yeah.
They've got the mustard ketchup mix now. You can do sriracha ketchup. It's very strange.
Ketchup's
you don't like
good all by
fancy sauce,
itself.
Brian?
Some things, but I like regular ketchup. Here's the thing, Frank. It's not that I don't like it. I don't need it. What's
I love
the point?
sugar-free ketchup.
Brian doesn't need it.
Sugar-free ketchup is amazing.
What's the deal?
What are we doing?
What's
going on
here? What's going on?
That's the rule. That's the goal now.
To eat regular ketchup.
To take the sugar out of the ketchup.
I love sugar-free ketchup because it actually tastes like tomatoes and it's not overly sweet.
That's not what I want. That's not what I want ketchup for.
No.
It's not bad. I also have this sugar-free barbecue sauce.
Oh, I love sugar-free
it's really
barbecue
good.
sauce.
The sugar-free barbecue sauce is good. But when I do smoke stuff, I use full sugar barbecue sauce.
What brand do you use for the sugar-free?
I want to say G Brown.
Yes, that's good. Sweet Baby Ray's sugar-free is also really good.
Oh, I didn't know Sweet Baby.
Yes.
They
actually make
10 seconds.
They actually make 2 or 3 different sugar-free kinds.
Wisconsin wakes up here. Back to Daybreak with Brian and Jamie.
6:22 right now. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. This is the Civic Media Network. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And good morning. I'm Brian Noonan. If you want to get involved with us, 855-75-CIVIC, 855-752-4842. How worried are you about measures by this administration to affect elections? Jamie, I know you were in one of the hotbeds of democracy, one of the birthplaces of our nation last week, but the foolishness continues everywhere else.
Yes.
I don't know how it was playing in Boston, but here in Wisconsin, a lot of it did not play well. Well, this isn't going to play well either. The Trump administration has run millions of voter registrations through government databases to determine their eligibility. Now, it's a process that critics are worrying could end up purging valid voters from the rolls before the November elections. And I'm going to wager a guess that doesn't matter to the administration.
No.
Only the right people need to vote. Right. At least 67 million registrations, primarily from Republican-controlled states, have gone through a beefed-up verification program at the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. Tens of thousands of those have been flagged as potential non-citizens or people who have died. Now, some states allow only a month for people to prove their eligibility, and others suspend it immediately. The scanning of state voter rolls at the national level is part of a broader plan, and we've been talking about this for, the last year or so, by the Republicans to federalize certain election functions and promote the messaging that elections are marred by non-citizen voting, even though instances of that are rare. Voting and civil rights advocates say the DHS system is error-prone and can mistakenly flag people who are eligible to vote. It already has flagged people mistakenly, and this is, once again, between this and the gerrymandering, man, you realize how terrified this guy is of what will happen if the Democrats take control of the House. He knows. It's not, and at this point, it's not about his policies. It's not about anything to do with the good of the country, because as he said last week, he doesn't think about Americans' financial situation at all. This is about, he knows at some point he's going to be brought up on legit charges. Mm-hmm. And he is, the question of all the money that he has made over the last year, the question of everything else is going to come into play. If the Democrats take control, he will be impeached, and this time he probably will be convicted if the Senate flips too. That's all he's worried about. So whatever they can do to ensure their victory, they are doing, and it's brazen, and nobody's doing anything to stop it.
No, and I mean, all of this is happening against a backdrop that we've already lived through and have been living through for multiple years. The 2020 election was one of the most scrutinized in history, including here in Wisconsin. And I'm sure you talked about it, but just last week, let's remind anybody who wasn't able to join, there were reports of federal agents showing up at the home of a Milwaukee County election official from the FBI. And so as we're watching that play out, this is, as you mentioned, a nationwide effort. And essentially, this comes down to the Republican Party trying to erode trust in our election process, because it's not just about the ballots. We need to depend on we need, as voters, to be able to know that the system works. And when election officials feel targeted, or when voters hear about, these mass checks that could mistakenly flag eligible voters, it starts to create doubt, and that doubt is going to start spreading quickly. And
he's been spreading this doubt, though, since 2016. It was even before his first election. It was, if I don't win, it's rigged. If I don't win, it's rigged. And you keep pounding on something so long, there's enough. Because other than the hanging chads, do you remember, there were close elections, there were blowout elections, and people just, if they lost, they lost. They challenged the Chad one because that was a little different. But then, even then, once it was over, Al Gore's still not complaining about losing that election.
No, that went all the way to the Supreme Court, right? And
he went to the Supreme Court.
He was able to accept the results and step back. I think the thing that bothers me the most about this is the election workers, because these are local folks. These are people These are people who probably have, kids in your kids' school, probably, shop at the same grocery store. These people because they're part of your community. And they're not usually in the spotlight, and they're responsible for making sure that these elections on a local level are run fairly and accurately. So if they feel intimidated or they feel like they're being pressured, I think this is going to make it much harder to recruit and retain people willing to do that work. And I think that is also part of what is motivating this particular Republican Party right now, because they want to erode that type of trust throughout the communities. And we've seen them do it, right? We've seen them do it all the way from mayoral elections, especially if you're watching in Wisconsin just this past election cycle, all the way into the school boards. They're eroding that trust every single time there's an election.
Just to reiterate, it's not an issue. Citizenship and Immigration Services said the 60 million voter registration checks identified about 24,000 potential non-citizens. The Attorney General, who runs the Justice Department's Civil Rights Division, said during a Fox News interview those checks also identified about 350,000 people who appear to have died, but that is a fraction of 1% of the voters.
Yeah.
A fraction of 1%.
I mean, and that's the argument, right? You have all these people who shouldn't vote who keep voting. No, they're actually not. They're actually not voting, and it's been proven time and again.
We would have to have a Congress that stood up to him. We would have to have reporters who called him out on his BS, and we would have to have people on the Republican voter side who were not just believing what they're being told, who actually listened to everybody and looked at the court cases and said, you know what, he's wrong about this.
Right.
This is not what's happening. The Republicans said something the other day at a water park, and I'm wondering if the Democrats should follow their advice. I know, that sounds outrageous. This is Daybreak. I'm Brian Noonan.
I'm Jamie Martinson. It's 6:29 right now. Thank you for joining us this morning. It's the Civic Media Network.
Water park.
Well, they were at Kalahari.
In Wisconsin Dells.
Yeah. It was like,
Yeah.
I want to see Rojo and DVO go down a water slide. Just their big shorts. Skinny, really white legs.
I listened to a lot of that last night in the background after I found the Ron Johnson sound. And holy buckets. The entire theme was of the convention on the state level was doing away with the filibuster, because they and we can talk a little bit about some of Ron Johnson's comments on that.
Ron.
So he was the main one, and then it's doing away with the filibuster. That's really what they would want to do to get the SAVE Act passed, because for them, it literally came down to the fact that they keep losing elections when Donald Trump is not on the ballot. And I thought it was fascinating because it seemed like they obviously are worried about the midterms if you listen to a lot of the comments, because he won't be on the ballot. And it's been a major problem for them. And Ron Johnson got a little despondent even talking about losing the state's Supreme Court elections. So Mark and Prairie du Sac says, I'd make an argument that this purging voters from the registration to vote is a violation of the 14th Amendment, which refers to the right to vote as being denied or in any way abridged, would have consequences to those doing the denying.
Well, that was Alabama's trying to get rid of the 14th Amendment.
Yes. And I mean, this all comes down to the VRA, right? Because the VRA is based on the 14th Amendment.
Right.
And
so
the
if we
Supreme
get rid of the
Court,
14th Amendment, then we don't have to worry about, we can keep anybody from voting.
Right.
There's going to be a weight limit. They don't want fatties voting. Height limit.
Yes. I probably
so
won't be able
shorties,
to vote
no
pretty
shorties
soon.
can get in.
No.
You must be this tall to cast a ballot.
I can't ride a lot of carnival rides, so there's probably no way I'll pass a ballot.
Got to wear big platform shoes to go vote.
Every year, that was always the thing at the Sauk County Fair. Every year, there's a photo of me for 8 years because they always thought it was funny to put me next to the "you must be this tall" to ride.
Oh, and you were never that tall?
I usually just made it.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, you're... Little kids
close.
get on there. You're not that. I mean, you're shorter,
close.
but you're not that short.
It was pretty close.
Wow.
For a couple of them, I'm barely like a couple of them that they would bring in, the ones that went upside down and things and need like
standing
the
up
over
really
the head,
tall and
like they need the over the head thing. Like
Yep.
I barely passed those. I made it, but it was close. I don't know. Nobody's going to be able to vote pretty soon, and that's the key to all of this. But they're sweating it because they know that if the Republicans win, and that was also, or the Democrats win, that was also the theme of the convention. So,
did you listen to any Boston radio?
we didn't because we were in Ubers the whole time. So we were at the Mercy.
I love to listen to, unless you get into a place like unfortunately, most small to medium towns, it's the same lineup as everywhere else in the world. But a city like Boston, you're going to have some morning shows.
We listened. I think we were able to. Did we listened to a little bit? It was where were we?
A lot of sports talk there.
I can't remember where we were at that we got to listen to it, but we were at the mercy of whatever they had on in their vehicles.
Yeah.
So, and for some reason, because my husband has used Uber so much, he's got upgraded. So now he's like Uber Black. So, so everywhere we went,
that's
we had
racial. That's appropriation, Jamie. Cultural appropriation.
Yes.
I don't like that.
We had the like Suburbans and Tahoes and stuff with like the blacked out windows. I was like,
nice.
You know
the
what?
Secret Service.
You know what my biggest fear was? I was like, God, I hope they come with running boards because not all of them do.
Oh yeah, that's true. Some of those are high.
They really are. They all did, luckily. So I didn't have to Look like a baby walrus trying to emerge from the water.
Well, that's
for the
right.
first
Those
time.
guys should have those little step stools that they can just pop out and it's
They should.
help you up. There you go.
Yeah, about 10 seconds.
Want to join in on the conversation? Call or text 855-75-CIVIC. Now back to Brian and Jamie.
6:35 right now. We hope you are having a great start to your morning. A warm, muggy day across most of the state. And maybe some rain, some thunderstorms once again. Hopefully, though, the weather will behave itself. And hopefully, we'll talk about it a little later on this morning, but hopefully the Northwoods will see a little moisture at some point, too, because, boy, they could definitely use it up there.
And I don't know, these fronts keep cutting right through the center of the state, whether it's going southwest to northeast or straight across west to east, and they just leave out the upper northwest quarter of the state. How about a little something for the effort up there?
Yeah, they could definitely use a little moisture. We talked about it this morning. We'll talk about how AI is going to start helping that area too when it comes to forest fires and things. But that will come up later this morning.
Yes.
But we're lucky in this part of the state because obviously we've had so much flooding. We don't need more flooding, but we're lucky to see the rain that we have when you look at what's happening in the Northwoods in comparison.
Have you ever thought of taking advice from Republicans? A lot of you right now are like, Brian, did you hit your head over the weekend? Perhaps I did, but that's really none of your concern. 855-75-CIVIC, 855-752-4842, because I am in bizarro world, Jamie, because I'm thinking about listening to Republicans and taking their advice. And Ron Johnson made a comment that I went, all right, we could transfer this over to the Democrats. It's good political advice. But why I'm telling you this and why we're going to talk about this is Ron Johnson said that, and other party leaders were appealing for unity as they gathered Saturday for their state convention. They were up there at Kalahari Resort, so I am picturing Ron Johnson and Derek Van Orden and all the other Republicans with their skinny white legs shooting down water slides, yipping it up, having a good time, maybe getting one of those big Kalahari elephant necklaces to wear around, just having a good time. But Republicans warned against voter enthusiasm, and that lack of enthusiasm could have dire consequences. Oh, I don't think voters are lacking in enthusiasm for this election, Ron. I think the enthusiasm, though, is coming against you and the Republicans. But that's just me. What do I know? So the midterm elections are going to be tight. We know a lot of 14, I think we voted or counted it last. 14 Republicans have decided to retire or not seek re-election. Good news to their families. They're all going to spend more time with their families.
Yes.
Quality time, Jamie. That's always good, isn't it?
Yes.
I guess. Why Kalahari? I mean, no, that's no shade on Kalahari.
It's
I'm
a
just
huge
thinking,
convention center. Huge
I
convention
know,
center.
but what is it Kalahari advertised as? It's all about water parks. That's it.
Fun water park. And in the Republicans' defense, the Democrats did have their convention in Wisconsin
Chuck E.
Dells
Cheese?
last year.
Oh, okay.
This year, I believe it's in Madison, but last year they also did have theirs at one of the resorts. What I thought was most interesting, because I did listen to a lot of Ron Johnson's comments, what I thought was interesting is he talked about how the Democrats always unify around their candidate.
What?
Which I thought was insanity, because going back to 2016, 2020, 2024, they don't actually unify.
Yes, which is why I'm saying we need to take Ron Johnson's advice. We don't unify. We can't get behind, Kamala laughed this way, Hillary this, Bernie this. Unless you're perfect.
Right.
The Democrats will fraction off. Well, I'd rather not vote, or I'd rather vote for Jill Stein as a protest vote. Hey, how'd those protest votes work out for you last time, friends? So let's take a little bit of Ron Johnson's advice, Democrats, and once the primaries are over, I don't care who that nominee is, that's your nominee.
Yeah, you get behind
That's
them. You do
your
whatever you can.
nominee.
You do whatever you can to get that person elected, especially in a state like Wisconsin, where we're talking about full leadership from top to bottom. I
Yes.
mean, right? From
The
the governor
trifecta
to
is up
this,
for grabs.
it is, absolutely. And I also thought it was interesting because in his speech yesterday, over the weekend, I should say, Johnson warned that radical Democrats have harnessed more voter enthusiasm in recent elections. Here's what he had to say.
And by the way, if we're engaging the circular firing squad inside Ukraine, that's not going to be very effective. Okay? Not at all. In addition to the relentlessness of the left and the effective infiltration of these institutions, you know what the left is really good at? Completely being unified. Because what
Who's that
motivates
one guy
them
clapping in the back
is power. It's a very unifying, motivating factor. You know, again, we're a bunch of free agents, right? We're a bunch of entrepreneurs. We have a bunch of goals, a bunch of aspirations. We don't want to be involved in government. So again, we just don't have that cohesive chromosome, I guess. But if we're going to win, we got to unify. And we got to unify now. We have no room for division. We have no room for the circular firing squad, which we are very good at. End it. End it now.
Wow.
Tepid response. From
Very
the room.
tepid. I thought he was in an empty room at first because there was a lot of echo. The four people that were in there were like snooze. We had to take a break. We ate something, so we can't go back in the pool for 30 minutes. So we might as well listen to Ron Johnson pontificate. Did he go to the Donald Trump School of Speech Writing? Because there were a lot of inaccuracies in that little clip, and that clip was only a little over a minute, and there were a number of inaccuracies in there.
Yes. Yes. I mean,
and he doesn't want to be involved in politics? The Republicans don't want to be. They stay there forever.
And I think he was also referring to the voters because earlier in that particular speech, he goes on to talk about the lack of enthusiasm for the recent Supreme Court races and how they only had 35% of Republican turnout in just this last month or so between Chris Taylor and Maria Lazar. And let's be clear, Democrats didn't actually turn out in huge numbers in this particular race either. It was pretty mild across the board, but for Republicans to only get 35% of their voters out to the polls in that Supreme Court election, especially when we were talking about all of the school referendums also on the ballot across the state, it was a big sticking point for Ron Johnson and a majority of his speech in Wisconsin Dells over the weekend.
Well, the other issue was in this, Maria Lazar kind of disappeared for a while from the campaign. There were some missteps. She was out. She was gone. Chris Taylor was out there pounding the pavement, and Democrats were more motivated, I think.
Right.
There were real stakes involved in some of these elections. And to be honest, some of the things that Republicans run their Supreme Court candidates on are not things that the majority of the public are behind. Right. You can be a conservative and still be pro-choice. You can be a conservative and still want schools funded. So when you've got, and it's unfortunate that we have Supreme Court justices who are party affiliated, which they really shouldn't be, but that's another story. Then you get tarnished. You get painted with the whole brush of the Republican Party.
Right. Alicia chiming in over on our YouTube chat this morning. She says, Republicans aren't cohesive. They literally follow lockstep behind the president. Yes, that's absolutely 100% true. If you want to chime in this morning, 1-855-752-4842, 1-855-75-CIVIC. I think the thing that bothers me most about both parties is the growing influence of the extremes, because both the Republicans and the Democrats are dealing with this. You've got louder, more hardline voices on both ends of the spectrum. And oftentimes we've seen this happen time and again. Those voices overshadow the center left, the center right voters, who make up a huge portion of who actually votes and how most people believe, especially in states like Wisconsin. And when governing requires compromise, right? And it
depends who you talk to.
This is true. It requires people willing to meet in the middle and actually solve problems. So most voters aren't living in those political extremes. They're somewhere in between. And right now, that middle ground feels like it's getting squeezed out. And
the middle ground is also being painted as a sellout, a cop-out.
Yes.
Whereas now, to denounce Ron Johnson's unity point and back up Alicia's, the most radical part of the Republican Party has now been in control for the better part of the last 20 years.
Right.
And we thought the Tea Party was radical. What's happening now is far right. When we see Christian nationalism on the rise, when we see everything that's going on with voter suppression, all of that is far, far right. The Democrats have rejected in the past the far edge of the party.
Mm-hmm.
Even so, Bernie Sanders was the closest that we got. Now the middle of the Democratic Party, the more moderate part, is being viewed as not radical enough.
Right.
The problem is the Democrats will not, well, I shouldn't say will not. Democrats have not rallied around we saw what happened with Bernie. We see any time there's a candidate that I go back to this a lot, and you do too, the purity test. Mm-hmm. And I don't think a far, far left Democrat at this point, unfortunately, will get the backing, which they should. If they're whoever it is, I don't care where they fall in line. And I'm not talking about a John Fetterman Democrat. I'm talking about a true Democrat who's going to get the work done and work, but also understands, like you said, Jamie, compromise.
Yes.
Compromise. You don't always win every battle. You cede a little to get a little.
We've got John from Oshkosh chiming in, listening on WISS this morning. He says, except the extreme on the left wants health care and good education, the extreme on the right want the Handmaid's Tale. And I think that's just it. And I don't know if the messaging around universal health care, for instance, has been as good as it could for some of those rural voters to really understand what that means, especially when the messaging from the Republicans to counter that is always so much stronger, right?
See, but John points out, and John, I'm going to find a little fault with your argument there. You point out two areas that the whole left wants. Not just the extreme left aren't the only ones pushing for health care and good education. That's the whole Democratic Party. The problem with the far extreme left is that they start getting into things that are more moderate, that you can't reach out to rural voters or independents. And we know already 65% of independents have not decided who they're going to vote for in the primary. So you got to reach those people. And you have to realize, in a pie-in-the-sky, leftist progressive world, some of these policies make sense. But in the real world, they don't fly. And if that makes me old or a sellout, whatever it is, I also am a realist. And I say, all right, yes, what's most important? Healthcare, education, taking care of the elderly, taking care of food, homelessness. That's the most important part. Some of this other identity stuff, identity politics, we don't need it. We don't need to worry about it right now. We gotta win first. Work on other stuff second. I don't know. That's just me. Who knows? We're gonna take a quick break. When we come back, Jamie, this is a story we found last week when you were not here. A giant bird has been found and returned. This is Daybreak on the Civic Media Network.
All right.
Yeah, I got it, Parker. I brought it back.
For as much as people don't want to admit it, we still need a two-party system, because no side should be in charge of everybody. I mean, it's the whole reason why I always talk about the gerrymandering, right? Because you need representation from all of the different factions of the country. And when you start losing that, you're literally taking out their voice. And extremism takes over a conversation, and it doesn't hurt just one person. It hurts everybody, and it makes government harder. Look at what's happening right now. The mega influence has taken over government, and it's not working for everyone. It's
working for very few. But man, I don't get how he still has that kind of lockstep control over the party when he's getting other Republicans bounced.
Right.
And it just goes to show that Cassidy case goes to show you he voted for impeachment, but then he sucked up and voted along Trump lines almost 90% of the time. That still didn't save him.
Let's see. Alicia says both parties have ignored the rural voters. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely 100% agree with that statement. And then John says, curious of your thoughts on the extreme left policies you speak of.
I don't know. Which ones? He just wants me to come. Oh, John, who sent the text.
Yes.
It's when we get in. Maybe not. Maybe just another John.
Yeah, could be. I'm not sure.
I believe that's the same John.
Is it?
I
think
believe
so.
John alternates sometimes between
the two?
John. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, John, we will get into that at another point, but.
I mean, you even look at what happened with Bernie Sanders when he proposed free college for that. I mean, I don't disagree with the idea, but
see, it's a hard sell in a place like New York.
Yes,
and that's a Democratic stronghold.
Yes,
you can win there. Wisconsin, you have to think about the mindset of people of a wide demographic,
right?
And they don't want to hear. Even though they might not understand, I'm just telling you, buzzwords like socialism and stuff, those carry a stigma, and people don't want to hear it. And while they may be all for gay rights, equal rights, everything, women's right to choose, they're worried about, and John on the text pointed out, they're worried about their health care, they're worried about their housing costs, and they're worried about their kids getting a good education. So if you focus on that.
We got 10 seconds till we're back.
You can win on that.
Local news, community stories, and the conversations that matter most. Now, more Daybreak with Brian and Jamie.
We hope that your morning's going well so far. Thank you so much for joining us. If you're in Madison, listening on WMDX, in Wausau, listening on WXCO, or in Wisconsin Rapids on WFHR, we are certainly glad that you decided to join the Civic Media Network this morning. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And good morning, I'm Brian Noonan. Jamie, last week when you were gone, all eyes in Wisconsin were on the skies, and not for a vortex, not for some meteorological nightmare, not UFOs, but an African stork was loose and flying around Wisconsin. It was terrifying to the pictures. If this thing landed in your yard or came down, we also mentioned we were happy you were not here during this incident because you would have never left left a building. You would have stayed in.
Frank's got video of me when pigeons landed near me on my trip in Boston. It was not a fine moment. I had no idea my husband was recording at that time.
Well, that's good. See? So imagine now a pigeon blown up 10, 15 times to become a giant African stork.
No.
Well, the good news is it has been caught, and it's been taken to Safari in Lake Geneva. Jay Christie, who's the owner and founder of Safari Lake Geneva, said the marabou stork walked into a residential garage. Imagine you're sitting in your garage watching the Brewers game, and all of a sudden this giant African stork comes strolling in. What's up?
Who's saying no, though, to a giant African stork? I mean, you're pretty much pulling up a chair and letting him sit down.
Sure.
That's what he
Can I
wants
get
to
you a
do.
beer, friend? I don't know if marabou storks eat brats, but I'd offer him one. So walked in. They were able to get him in some sort of a cage on a truck.
Wow.
Where's it? First of all, I'm a little suspicious of anybody who's got a giant cage on a truck just sitting in their garage, just waiting. What are you using that for, friend? Oh, nothing. I just
Never mind.
You never know when a giant. Glad I had it now, aren't you? Well, no, Bob, you're freaking me out, really. You drive around with a cage like you're collecting children or other animals.
Right.
So the bird is now in quarantine and being examined by staff. Wisconsin residents had reported seeing the bird in the Fond du Lac, Sheboygan, Appleton, and Green Bay areas between May 4th and 8th. So marabou storks, which we talked about last week, are from sub-Saharan Africa, and there's virtually zero chance the bird flew over the continent. So the question does remain,
where did
how
it
did
come
the bird
from?
get here? Yes, it has bands on its legs, so they think it was somewhere in a zoo or something, but there's been no news coverage anywhere of a reported marabou stork breakout.
So when they have those bands on their legs, is that like, this sounds stupid, but are those bands like when you microchip your dog? Can you scan those bands to trace back where they come from?
There's information on them. You could read the band and it should tell you where it's, some number and where they were, but this one.
That's why I asked, because I was like, in my mind, that would be a good identifying source to figure out maybe where this stork actually came from. But what do I know? I don't get close enough to birds to check out,
I don't blame
their
you.
jewelry.
I don't know. Nobody knows. But they do say the bands do make them believe that the stork was in human care at some point. Well, duh. Because storks aren't putting their own metal bands on. It's not like they're going to the mall to Claire's to get pierced or to get put a cool ankle bracelet on me.
Right.
All right.
Right.
How about something for that giant beak? No. This speaks for itself. I don't need that.
I just want my bracelet. I'm fine. Thank you.
The good news is the marabou stork has survived Wisconsin and seems to be in good shape, they say, which is nice. So now the bird could find a home in Wisconsin. It'll stay at Safari Lake Geneva for now. No long-term plans for the bird as of Friday. So maybe there's going to be a cookout.
Well, no, we don't want to think that. But I just realized what you were saying there, and I was like, no, we don't want to do that.
I just left it there.
Let it simmer.
Yeah.
This is a very odd story, and I was watching some of it over the course of the week as we were traveling.
We can't go home yet. There's a giant bird on the loose.
I find it fascinating that nobody knows where this bird came from.
I know.
Like that's the most fascinating part. Like just a few weeks ago, if everybody remembers, there was a baby kangaroo that was on the loose in this state, and everybody knew about it. It made national headlines. And now there's just a weird stork on the loose, and nobody has any idea what's happening.
I have a theory here.
Okay.
All right. Parker's theory. Big surveillance, Parker? What is your theory?
No, not big surveillance. I think that a zoo could not fund the bird anymore.
And they just let it go?
They just
neglecting
let it go?
said bird. That is my theory. That's why no one's claiming it. Because surely, if I was a zoo, I would claim my African stork.
And they wouldn't report it then at the same time.
That's my theory.
Wow. So they did the
that's not
equivalent
bad.
of those people who just dump a dog or something.
Yeah.
Or like bunnies.
Yeah. That's what I think's going on here, guys.
Wow,
Okay.
Parker. Interesting
getting
sleuthing.
Deep. I like that. I like
Parker does true bird crime podcasts. We didn't know that on the side. What happened to Jabby, the African stork? Jabby was being held by the zoo in an undisclosed
I'm telling
town.
you, there are people who would listen to that like crazy.
I'm sure they would.
Listen to that. Yeah. Dude, for how many people believe in the birds aren't real?
Was that a thing?
It was a satirical thing.
Birds are
but
real.
it is a thing.
No, they're
That
there.
people
They're
think
real.
birds aren't real? You ever been pecked in the head by one? I have. It's not fun. They're real annoying. I do like to hear them chirping as I sit out on the deck. I like to see them flitting about. But when they're mad at you and they come zipping at your head.
Stay over there.
Yeah.
Stay over there. Don't land near me. Do you know that when we were sitting in Boston Common the other day, not only did I have pigeons at my feet, but a squirrel jumped up on the bench eating a pretzel right next to me. I about lost my mind.
White?
I lost my flipping mind. No, the furthest thing from it. And I scared them all because I started screaming.
Wow. All right, well, now I'm picturing Jamie just singing that Snow White song or whistling that tune. When we come back, we've got all the S you need to know to get your day started. Big show. There's a lot left, so stick around. I'm Brian Noonan. This is Daybreak.
I'm Jamie Martinson. 6:59 right now. This is the Civic Media Network.
Oh,
what
boy.
Are you, Snow White? Nicely done, Parker.
Oh, there you go.
Corey was on a phone call, and I was sitting on the bench, and all of a sudden, I looked over because I heard something next to me, and there is this little squirrel. Now, in the squirrel's defense, some guy had gotten him to crawl up his leg at one point too, by just sitting.
I want that guy investigated.
I was because the guy was like, "Come here," and he kept talking to him.
I have a hole in my pocket.
And the squirrel crawled up his pant leg up to his knee, and then went running away. So he was not terrified of people at all. You can tell that he had been fed out there by people. He was a portly little squirrel. So you can tell that people had taken very good care of him out at Boston
Jamie,
Common.
don't fat shame the squirrel.
Well,
he's struggling. He has his own struggles, Jamie.
I get it. But he was a well-fed little squirrel, along with all of the pigeons.
So you would never go. We went to a place where you'd hold a little cup of nectar, and the hummingbirds would land on your hand. And
love
cool.
hummingbirds. Hummingbirds
those are
fascinating.
What's the cutoff? I don't understand.
I don't really know. I don't know if I would want a hummingbird near me, but I find them fascinating.
Okay. That's fair.
Yeah, Molly wouldn't go in. She freaked.
I don't know if I could.
I let the little bird feed.
I don't know if I. And Corey was laughing at me on this trip because he's like, really, it's about anything that flies.
I don't think it wasn't a hummingbird. It was more like some sort of parrot.
No.
It was at San Diego Zoo.
Hard pass.
Oh, it was great. It just sat. It was little. It was a little, maybe canary size. I don't know what it was. But it sat on your hand and it drank out of this little.
You know, like those, like all of at the zoo when they have like those areas where you can go in and the birds are just free and they can roam.
Yeah.
They just no, hard pass, no.
Well, the whole world is like that, Jamie. Birds just fly around everywhere.
Nope, I'm enclosed.
We live in a zoo.
I can't get away from them. I'm stuck with them.
This morning,
hard pass.
I walked out to my car, and out the corner of my eye, I could see that there was a bird on the top of the house, like at the peak. And then as I turned to open my car door, I'd have to turn in that direction, and the bird flew.
Sure.
At the and mind you, this bird
wanted you dead.
No, this bird is the entire yard away from me and is flying the opposite direction. And I flinched because it just caught me wrong. I was like, oh, God.
No, I would have been screaming. I would have woken up the entire neighborhood. No, Frank actually has video. I had no idea. We were standing out.
I can't believe I haven't
somebody
seen this.
just asked on the text line, what happened to the baby birds, or did I miss that? I did not have
that was
a
the
chance.
ducks. Yeah, the ducks.
It was the baby ducks. I haven't had a chance to check yesterday because I slept most of the day because I was not feeling 100% quite yet. So I need to go out today and check on our ducks. So I'll see if Mama's still even there, because I'm going to guess that maybe the baby ducks hatched while we were away. So... And I would be very upset if I missed the fuzzy heads, but I knew that was a chance I had to risk. But I did get to see fuzzy heads while we were traveling, so that was good. Boston Common had some fuzzy heads. I also saw an engagement while I was sitting on the bench at Boston Common. Yeah. They did it right in front of the little pond right there.
Oh.
It was very, very sweet. Mark chiming in on listening on WCFW says, my son is a TV reporter in Green Bay and covered the stork story. We talked about it last night. They caught the stork. I said ICE got him. Now he is in a detention center awaiting deportation.
Could be. Well, he's undocumented. He's not from this country. Those bans are like a work visa, and those have expired.
That's right. He snuck in.
I do like Parker's theory, though.
Yeah, that's not bad.
I honestly think that's
But
what
that's not
happened.
an animal that goes unnoticed, obviously.
Right.
No. The only part I can't figure out if I'm right, I can't believe that there isn't like people from that community saying stuff.
Oh, we went to the zoo to see the stork. They said it went to a farm. Huh?
It escaped before they could take its bands
See,
off.
now our first year in Baraboo, one of the elephants learned how to pull the pin out of her gate with her trunk. And they teamed up, though, because they have surveillance on them all the time because of PETA.
Sure.
And so they watched it, and the one elephant actually pulled the pin, and then Kelly, the other elephant, opened the gate and left. And what was so great is we had to call all of the local grocery stores to get watermelons and heads of lettuce so that we could lure her back into her enclosure. And it was so funny because when we found her, she was sitting in somebody's backyard next to one of those little metal A-frame swing sets.
Yeah.
She was tucked up against it so tight, eating the begonias. But then when she saw everybody come towards her, she hung her head and then sucked herself in tighter because, like, you wouldn't see her against this little A-frame. And she she knew she never got in trouble. We lured her back with her watermelon, and we gave her kisses. And it was so cute because they got her back in. They got her in her enclosure with her sisters, and they said, "Did you escape?" And we were all standing there, and she actually hung her head. She knew because they were talked to like people in Baraboo, the elephants were. So she knew she'd done wrong, but
We got 10 seconds till we're back.
Across the state of Wisconsin, Daybreak with Brian and Jamie is back.
7:06 right now. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We do appreciate it. We hope your day is off to a great start. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And good morning, I'm Brian Noonan. Glad you are here. It's the top of the hour, and that means it's time for a little you need to know.
It's a wake-up call in more ways than one. Time for some you need to know.
A lot going on, and a lot of it involves Jamie's favorite subject to rail against, gerrymandering. Yesterday, in a side note, yesterday marked the 72nd anniversary of the U.S. Supreme Court decision on Brown versus Board of Education of Topeka, which held that racially segregated public schools were inherently unequal and therefore unconstitutional, which was a great ruling. Now, fast forward 72 years, and we seem to be going backwards because on Friday, the Supreme Court rejected Virginia's bid to restore a congressional map that would have given Democrats a chance to pick up 4 seats in the closely divided House of Representatives. The court's order, issued without any noted dissent, is the latest twist in the nation's mid-decade redistricting competition. It was kicked off by Donald Trump, urging Republican-controlled states to redraw their lines, and was supercharged by a recent Supreme Court ruling severely weakening the Voting Rights Act that opened up even more winnable seats for the GOP, because why let people of color vote? They don't know what they're doing, so we're going to go back to the Confederacy. In recent days, the justices have sided with Republicans in Alabama and Louisiana, who hope to redo their congressional maps to produce more GOP-leaning seats, but the Virginia situation was different. It stemmed from a 4-3 ruling by the Virginia Supreme Court that struck down a constitutional amendment that voters passed just last month. Now, they say narrowly passed, but passed is passed, so the voters said yes. The state court found that the Democratic-controlled legislature improperly began the process of placing the amendment of the ballot on the ballot after early voting had begun in Virginia's general election last fall. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Jamie, in Louisiana, voting had already begun, and they just suspended that election altogether.
They did.
Yes.
They absolutely did, yes.
All right, just checking. Supreme Court typically doesn't intervene in state court proceedings unless it's against Donald Trump. Unless they present an issue of federal law. So Virginia Democrats had hoped to persuade the justices that the Virginia court misread federal law and Supreme Court precedent that hold that even if early voting is underway, an election does not happen until Election Day itself.
This is the ripple effect of what happened with the Supreme Court, right? And in Georgia last week, Governor Brian Kemp said he wasn't going to call for new maps before the midterms. Turns out he's going to. He asked he's now asked the state legislators to start drawing up those new maps. And this is what happens. This is what happens when the Supreme Court rules in the way that they did. And this is why this ruling is so dangerous for democracy. It's literally a danger to democracy with what they did. And it is going to have a ripple effect because now blue states are trying to counteract. And this is why I get on my gerrymandering soapbox, because this is bad for all voters.
And again, there has been a bill in the U.S. Congress for years that would put a stop to this. But as we've seen, that one party, and it either starts with an R or a D, but I think it starts with an R. I don't know for sure. They're afraid that they will lose their power, and so they have done everything they can to block that bill. But let's move on. There is some other stuff to know, and I want to talk to you about the last story.
Yes, absolutely.
Very much.
So we're going to bring this story closer to home because UW-Madison is closing a pair of libraries this summer as a result of a campus-wide budget cuts. Friday was the last day students, faculty, staff, and the public could visit the Geology and Geophysics Library, and the Social Work Library closes on August 14th. Now, the former chancellor of UW-Madison announced in June that the university departments would need to cut their budgets by 2026 by 5% or 7% for the next school year. She also went on to say at a February UW Board of Regents meeting that the cost-cutting measures yielded $64 million in savings for UW-Madison. Now, the budget cuts accelerated a planned consolidation of UW-Madison's libraries outlined in a 2017 report. UW-Madison Libraries Associate Dean for Learning and Engagement, Carrie Cruz, said that nearly a decade-long library plan aims to create larger libraries serving the whole campus rather than smaller ones scattered in academic buildings. Now, UW-Madison closed the Astronomy, Mathematics, and Physics Library in August. In the fall, the Rebecca M. Blank Student Commons, the library and study space named after the late chancellor, opened in the new Morgridge Hall. Library collections are being transferred to other locations and will remain available. Students and the campus community checked out their last books this week at the Geology Library on the 4th floor of Weeks Hall. Its collections are moving to Steenbach Library or the university's shelving facility in Verona. The campus can request all of the materials in the catalog for delivery to another library for checkout. The UW libraries will catalog the Social Work Library's materials for at least 6 months after it closes in August. So, I mean, you're still going to be able to check these books out, so I guess that's good, and they can still be requested. I don't know. Anytime, I get it. I get budgets, but anytime I see a library close, it always makes my heart a little sad.
Yeah, and these programs are important for a lot of students and a lot of faculty and staff, but they'll find, they will find a way. All right, this one, normally on when we're talking about the S You Need to Know, we don't invite you to jump in, but you can jump in on this one if you want. Is there any answer to the obvious corruption that is happening in this administration? 855-75-CIVIC, 855-752-4842. I have been apoplectic about this since I heard about it over the weekend, and I'm surprised it's not a bigger thing. But, you know, we'll make it a bigger thing. The Department of Justice is finalizing a deal to launch a so-called Truth and Justice Commission, but that is not the full name. It is the Donald J. Trump Truth and Justice Commission, and establish a compensation fund of $1,776 million to pay claims made by alleged victims of government weaponization in exchange for President Trump dropping his ongoing lawsuit against the IRS. Now, that's according to sources and ABC News. They said that the proposed deal, which is likely to face legal hurdles and has already been criticized by Democrats as a slush fund for Trump's allies, arose after months of deliberation between the White House and DOJ officials who originally attempted to craft a legal justification for the settlement to compensate Trump directly. Now, The lawsuit is because somebody leaked his tax returns. The weirdness, and you should be able to see this, is Donald Trump is in charge. He's the president. All these departments are under him, but that's all right. He's going to sue them anyway. But this is a slush fund. That's all it is. I'll give you a few more facts. So they're using a centuries-old legal practice known as the rule of necessity. DOJ lawyers have argued that no alternative existed other than letting the lawsuit proceed, with Trump acting as the plaintiff while being directly in charge of the defendants, the IRS and the Treasury. So they're saying he's a private citizen as well as the president, which I don't really buy. In the court filing this week, the attorneys identified serious issues with the lawsuit. This is the people on the sensible side, arguing that Trump has extraordinary control over the defendants in the case and that the circumstances raise the specter that defendants and their attorneys may instead be operating at the president's direction. You think? Additionally, since taking office, President Trump has significantly expanded the president's oversight and control of the Attorney General and the DOJ, including in ways that blur the line. So he would be eligible. Trump would not be eligible for payment himself, but entities that he controls or that benefit him would be eligible for the funds. It also would give settlements to 1,600 people who were convicted after the insurrection. Trump would have the ability to fire some of the people on this commission if they weren't giving the money to who he thought was going to be. This is one more step of this president enriching himself at our expense. He is suing you for this money. Don't be mistaken. This has nothing to do with the IRS. This has nothing to do with anything. It's about him getting richer, and you're paying for it. So if that's cool with you, it's not cool with me. $1,776,000,000. 1776. Get it?
Yeah. What I think is fascinating about this is the fact that you're right. We haven't heard a lot about it, but this is a president who has used this office to enrich himself and his inner circle through both versions of the presidency, right? Mm-hmm. And I think it's been more outright in the second version. But there's so many things that are wrong with this, right?
Yeah.
First, let's talk about where do you start? So let's start
see,
first.
That's just it. Where do you start? First of all, the fact that it's even a possibility. Can we start there? That shows, again, Congress has no spine.
And the fact, again, to point out so rightly what you did, this is taxpayer money.
Yes.
So we're paying for this. So first, where's the accountability? Because this proposal would allow this commission to distribute the funds, but without any sort of transparency about how those decisions are made. Second, there's precedent here. If a government can actually create a fund like this that's tied to political claims, what stops future administrations, Republican or Democrat, from doing the exact same thing? Third, I think there's also a trust issue here because there are already concerns about politicization with this administration. And now we're talking about benefiting allies or specific groups that are tied specifically to the president. Mm-hmm. And so when those government actions are tied to politics, it erodes trust in our institutions. And so for me, I guess so many things, again, wrong with this, but those would be the three that would stick out as far as the first three that I would start picking at, along with the taxpayer money.
Lynn texts in from Golden Valley. She says, maybe Dems should start campaigning on clawing back funds dispersed under the Trump administration. I like that idea, Lynn. It's the main thing I keep coming back to before I start breaking it all down is, why is nobody stopping this? It's corruption out in the open. It used to be, if you were corrupt, you kind of had a little shame. You kept it in the dark. They're doing it right out in the open and basically begging us to stop them. and nobody is stopping them. When you're proposing setting up this slush fund, and that's what I'm going to call it because that's what it is. That's money that is not going to be appropriated by Congress. That's going to be decided by the 5 commissioners, 4 of whom were appointed by the Attorney General, who we already know is Trump's former personal lawyer, and then the 5th one by the president, who has complete power over the commissioners to get rid of them. If you have any doubt what's happening here, you need to wipe the dew off your eyes and see what's up, because this is just the latest. If this were the only thing, it would be, oh, wow, how is this happening? It's just another brick in the chain of corruption that's going on. The enrichment of this president. You know who else gets rich? Celebrities, and we love to hear about them. So we'll go to Swipe or Stay after this. I'm Brian Noonan. This is Daybreak.
I'm Jamie Martinson. Thank you for joining us. 7:19 on the Civic Media Network.
All right.
I mean, that's the thing, too, that it really bothers me, because there's so many people, even like in this state, right, who talk about who voted for this president, who are like, well, what about my taxes? What about my health care? What about this?
Nobody cares. He doesn't care.
He doesn't care, and now he's using it to enrich his buddies.
Yeah.
I mean, like, now he's using that.
But Jamie,
so obvious.
Who could have seen that coming?
Everybody.
Nobody could have seen that coming. How are we supposed to know?
But that's just it. I think that's why people aren't calling it out, because we've hit this time when we're so used to this president enriching themselves. And let's be clear, some of the media are going to, I believe part of that too is, don't you think that if we're talking about this $1.7 billion slush fund, there are going to be people in the media who are going to benefit from that slush fund, right?
Looking at you, Paramount.
Who own properties or are on boards of directors. So no, they're not going to call it out. They're not going to use their means to call those things out, because they're going to directly benefit from what they just set up.
First of all, the enraging act of pardoning all those insurrectionists. Then we're paying them too?
Yeah.
What in the hell is going on?
Especially when most of them have been reconvicted of
another
other
one
crimes.
just made headlines the
I
other
know.
day for going back to jail.
Right?
Oh,
these
man.
were just tourists.
Out of
Jamie, you were a tourist last week. Did you bust into any of the Boston historical sites and shit on anybody's desk?
No.
Sorry,
nope.
Stream. I didn't mean. I should have said
No.
poop, but I'm worked up.
Create.
No, I can
Defecate.
honestly say that was not part of our plans. No.
Did anyone acknowledge, any of us or from the Trump administration or DOJ about this, the amount of money sliding in a nice little 1776 in there?
Oh yeah, that's part of the plan, because it's in honor of America 250.
Is it? Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't catch.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So we went for 1776.
10 seconds.
Let's break out of the bubble and see what's happening out there in pop culture. It's Swipe or Stay on Daybreak.
7:22 right now. Thank you for having us on this morning. It is time for Swipe or Stay. We will put the politics aside for just a few minutes. I mean, sometimes the stories overlap, but
Let's hope not.
We do our best here. Our senior producer, Frank, joins us. How are you today?
I'm good. It's not looking great on the intersection part, but
Okay.
Good.
I
all
think
right.
they're fun.
Let's
There's
do
some
it
fun
then.
stuff
All
in
right.
here.
Let's hit
Jamie,
it.
I know this is the bit you missed the most, so we're going to get right into it.
Okay,
I'm going to
sounds
read some
good.
pop culture headlines. Jamie and Brian are going to have to decide whether to stay on it or swipe on to the next one. Parker, you have been stripped of your powers and you've been given your ordinary
Yeah,
ones. of
Jamie,
being
you
a
should have seen it. His
tiebreaker.
head, it was like the Grinch's heart.
Just
His head grew 4
huge.
sizes last week.
Massive.
a voice.
You got to use it a couple times. All right. Story number 1. MMA fans disappointed this weekend.
I want to hear your story because I watched it and I am one of them.
We'll stay.
The big Netflix fight on Saturday night was between Ronda Rousey and Gina Carano, ending in just 17 seconds. after Rousey put her in an armbar and made Carano tap out. Now, Rousey collected a guaranteed $2.2 million for the fight. Carano made just over $1 million. So, Brian, I'm glad you gave me that interesting tidbit because I had a question in here for all the fight fans that are listening.
Yes.
So this question's directly for you. Why do you even pay for this? Don't you feel like you know that you're going to get scammed out of it, especially for these...
I didn't pay for it. It was on Netflix. So I pay for Netflix, but I didn't pay for Netflix for this fight. And I didn't watch the whole thing because the event, this Jake Paul event, started at 8:00. And it went, Gina Carano and Ronda Rousey's fight started at 11:10. The only reason I saw it was because Debbie went to bed and I was like, oh, I wonder if the fight happened yet. No, it had not. So I don't, normally I don't. And the only reason I wanted to watch this was because there was hype and everybody else was asleep. So it didn't surprise me that the fight ended the way it did. That's how most of Ronda Rousey's fights, eight of her fights ended within the first minute because of this armbar deal.
Right.
But it was a very anticlimactic end to what was an overhyped evening of, chest pounding and Jake Paul's idiocy and everything else.
Aren't those events usually overhyped?
Yes,
I mean,
that's what I mean.
Yeah.
I just don't understand why people continue to get sucked into this because it.
Like I said, everybody was asleep, and it was 11 o'clock,
Yeah.
and I was like, let me see. And it didn't take up a lot of my time. Took up 17 seconds of my night.
This one I get a little bit more, but I feel like whenever I see Netflix is hosting a fight now, I know it's just a cash grab.
Yeah.
Were they able to keep this one up longer? Because when Jake Paul and Mike Tyson fought a year ago or so?
Oh, I forgot.
Netflix just kept crashing because they'd never done a live event
Yeah,
and they couldn't keep it.
Oh, no, there was all kind of it was good. I mean, the production value was good.
So
Every
they
time I
learned a thing
checked
or
in,
two.
yeah, they had videos, they had the whole thing. But it was still, I was like, all right. So anyway, story number 2.
Another U.S. tour is canceled.
Just from like Parker's family is not going on a vacation? Is that what?
Another U.S. tour is canceled.
All right, now you got me. I'll stay. Stay.
Oh, do I care? I'm going to say swipe just so we can get Parker involved.
Parker?
And his head can swell back up.
Oh, I'm not going to know who it is anyway, Swipe.
All right, good.
Fair enough. America's quarterback is in relationship trouble.
America's quarterback. Who is
All
America's
right.
quarterback? Patrick Mahomes?
I'll
Aaron
stay.
Rodgers? Could it be
This
Tom
seems like some
Brady?
drama.
Yeah, I'll stay. I want to know who
definitely
America's
is some
quarterback
drama.
is.
Come on, America's team, Brian, the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, I knew that was America's team.
Dak
This is America's
Prescott.
quarterback, Dak Prescott.
Oh,
Is he, though? All right. All right.
What's his
Sorry,
deal?
Cowboys fans.
He was seen buddying up with his ex-fiance's friend during a pro bull riders event in Fort Worth on Friday.
All right, that whole sentence is crazy.
Yup, it gets better. Hold on. You're not going to believe this is going to get better.
I bet.
Prescott was engaged to Sarah Jane Ramos. They broke off their engagement earlier this year. Now he's having to deny being involved with what would have been a bridesmaid at his wedding.
Oh,
Now, this is where it gets even better. TMZ got a hold of the friend's phone number that was seen with Prescott. And they called and asked if she was dating Dak Prescott. To which she said 1 second and handed the phone over to Dak Prescott.
Oh.
That's awesome.
He said they are not dating.
Wow.
Which
The
was news to
two-
her.
The two have been friends for years, and there's nothing going on between them.
Oh,
End of
she's
story.
just consoling him. She's just consoling him.
But
That's
they didn't
all.
tell you that phone call was at 3 a.m.
Right.
and there was a
Witnesses,
rustling of sheets.
witnesses have said that it didn't look like they were just friends, but that's all we know for now.
So there may or may not have been
Yikes.
canoodling.
Wow. So it's not as obvious as Vrabel and Rossini. Okay, got it.
No, not nearly as bad. Yeah, I hope Dak learned his lesson from Mike.
Yes, we hope so.
We've
Parker,
got
how
time
much
for
time
one
we got?
Quick one. Got about a minute.
Hollywood starts to politically fracture.
Oh, yes. Stay.
Stay.
We have a message from Chelsea Handler about Spencer Pratt.
If you're seeing this video, this is a reminder that a straight white male, former reality star that has no previous experience in government should not be a legitimate political candidate. Have we learned anything yet? The bar is on the floor, people, and I need you to jump over it. Okay, thank you. Have a nice day.
That came from Handler's Instagram message, and now Pratt's calling her out by reposting a joke from the Kevin Hart roast, joking about the time she went to a Jeff Epstein dinner party. The LA mayoral race is already off to a hot start, and it's just going to be a black eye on the country.
But she's right.
She's not
100%
wrong.
right.
And Trump, as of this morning, is weighing whether or not he endorses Pratt.
Oh,
what a world. What a time to be alive. That's Swiper Stay, guys. Welcome back, Jamie.
What a time to be alive. You know, there are Republicans running for governor, too. We've heard about Tom Tiffany, but there's another Republican in the race. We will talk to him on the other side. It's Daybreak on the Civic Media Network.
I mean, let's be realistic. Trump is going to endorse Pratt.
I mean, I don't know why he wouldn't.
Of course he's going to.
He is also a former reality star.
Right?
Isn't that like an unbroken bond?
Yes.
Brethren.
The brotherhood of reality.
The brotherhood of disgraced reality television stars.
Yes.
All right. I think we've got Andy here. Good morning.
Hi, good
morning, Andy.
Hi. Turn you up a little bit here.
How are you today?
I'm doing all right. A little bit earlier than I'm used to. Usually most mornings when I'm doing a working class day. They got me about the typical 9 to 5 kind of thing, but it's wonderful to get up early regardless and join cool people in Wisconsin.
Well, thank you. We're glad that you're here. We're excited to talk to you.
Thank you.
Did you happen to, were you in Wisconsin Dells this past weekend?
I was in Wisconsin Dells this last
Okay.
weekend. Yes. I've never been to convention before, so it was a very interesting experience. So I got some pros, some cons. Definitely have some disagreements with some of the people who are there and their mindsets, but regardless, at the end of the day, it's always kind of cool to meet people from Wisconsin, no matter who you are. I love going to events, and a lot of people are like my grandma and grandpa up north in Nashville County, just good-natured, good people who are just like, yeah, I like to be a part of the process. And I always tell people I'm grateful they're fighting for my future too.
Cool. Well, we have, let's see, what do we have here? About three and a half minutes or so, and then we will go live and we can talk a little bit about you and your platform and why you decided to jump in the race and all of that good stuff. So
thank you.
Did you get your air turned on, Brian?
Yeah, it's something. Well, yesterday I was in the middle of working on the show, and everything blew up here. Every fuse. I was like, ugh. So I got it going, and now there's power going to the air. It hasn't kicked on. Maybe I'm just warm this morning. We'll see. I could set it lower and see if it kicks on. I'm yes, my hot flashes. I'm having menopause, Parker.
For anybody that's wondering how the morning is going, there is a street sweeper out. There's been a street sweeper in downtown Madison, street sweeping in the rain, which I've never understood, like why they street sweep in the rain. I mean, I'm sure there's a set schedule.
I'm sure it probably helps pick up some stuff because it gets wet.
It's more of a garbage thing, probably.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just always find those moments kind of funny because I'm like, really? Okay.
Pardon me.
Yawning is contagious.
I know.
You're going to hit me with that yawn. It's so contagious.
Sorry, yeah.
It is
It's
contagious.
all good.
Can't help it sometimes.
No, that's just how it is.
Our days start
Monday
very
mornings.
early. Yeah. That was the weird part about being sick over the weekend is like I couldn't keep my eyes open. So I slept and slept and slept and slept.
There's nothing wrong with I came to the realization on Saturday because Friday I had gotten a lot of stuff done at the house, and then Saturday morning I got a lot of stuff done, and it got to be about 3:30, and I was like, I just feel like sitting out on the deck. I'd gotten everything done on the deck. Everything was clean. The yard was done. And I sat out on the deck and I had a drink and I smoked a cigar and I was like, you know what? There's nothing wrong with just relaxing every once in a while. You know, I'm not going to feel guilty that I actually just chilled.
I try really hard.
I was just like, I'm just going to listen to some music. And it was nice.
Even on the way home, my stomach started feeling better as we were driving from Ely. And so that was good. But then I would like fall asleep for like 45 minutes and then I'd wake up for like 10, 15 and then I'd go right back to sleep.
I hate that.
And, but it was, I apparently needed it too, but because I don't usually do that.
We all judge ourselves on if we're constantly doing something.
I know.
Sometimes it's fun not to do anything.
Yes.
Like listen, after I was done with everything yesterday, listen to the baseball game on the radio.
Yeah.
It's terrific.
We got
great afternoon.
20 seconds till we're back. Andy, just so you know, when we get down to our last couple of minutes, I'll give you hand signals how many minutes we got left. If you start to hear music at the end, that means we have a couple of seconds left, so we just got to wrap it up.
Okay, I'll listen for music and I'll look for hand signals. Thank you.
And Andy, it's Mansky?
Yeah.
Okay, in case I didn't know if Jamie had asked you, I just want to make sure.
Now back to more of Daybreak with Brian and Jamie.
7:35 right now. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. This is the Civic Media Network. Hopefully your Monday is treating you well because, well, Mondays and all that. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And good morning, I'm Brian Noonan. So, you know, there's a big race for Wisconsin's governor's office. The Democratic field's still very crowded. Now, on the Republican side, it's been assumed that their candidate is all set for the November election, but that's not necessarily the case. There are other Republicans in the primary. Andy Mansky is challenging Tom Tiffany in the Republican primary. He joins us now. Andy, thanks for being here. So for people who aren't familiar with you, Andy, give us the elevator pitch. Who is Andy Mansky?
Sure. So I'm a working class guy. I work in the medical field, and I'm in Milwaukee County on the little outskirts, if you will. But my perspective is a little bit different. And this year, I think it's important to meet voters all across the spectrum and talk about issues. I think that sometimes it's okay to find common ground and middle ground on various ideas and push forward. I think, at least at the time when I was trying to enter the race, you know, young perspective is okay to bring into the view, right? So I know a lot of young people care about starter homes. They care about, you know, just seeing life being more affordable, better for them overall. I've had these conversations in Milwaukee and in Madison and across the state, wherever I'm going. And that's just true across the political spectrum. So at the end of the day, I mean, I'm not going to be sugarcoated. I mean, Tom Tiffany is more well known. He's a congressman. But at the end of the day, we have a process. I'm going through that process. I'm talking to voters just like he is. Right now, we're doing signatures just like he is, and we're hoping to hit that threshold and be able to make the ballot. But at the end of the day, I'm very proud of what I've accomplished and what I've done, and I'm putting a lot of new ideas out there and kind of I've done a lot. I'm very proud of it.
Well, we're certainly glad that you're here to have this conversation with us this morning. And one of the things that I think I admire most about your campaign is you said that you're never going to drop out of the race. So let's talk a little bit about the primary and what does, because obviously the Republicans just had their state convention this weekend. You happen to be in attendance. What does that party unity look like to you going forward throughout this race?
Sure. So party unity to me is, I guess in my mind, we can run a race. You know, it doesn't have to be, you know, hatred filled one way or another, right? You know, we have disagreements in policy. For me, as a working class guy, I'm always looking for what are you going to do for me, my family, the community around me, right? At the time when Trump in 2024 was running, one of the things that I was looking at as a overtime worker is no tax on overtime. And it didn't just impact me, it impacts many people, you know, coworkers I have, people I know in the community, right? You know, getting money in people's pockets does matter. And just like no tax on tips, you know, Kamala Harris kind of saw that and thought it was a great policy. And she was trying to mimic that as well. So again, moving towards the workers and the people of the state and helping them out is always going to be a plus. So in that regard, I mean, convention was quite an experience. There were some people out there that were a little out there in their views of what this election is going to be like. I have a different perception, if you will. But at the end of the day, it was cool. I've never been to convention before, but very happy to just be a part of the process again and just meet people where they're at.
Andy Mansky is a Republican candidate for governor here in Wisconsin. Andy Mansky, the number 4, governor.com is his website. I read over your platform, Andy, and I like that it seemed very focused, as you've mentioned, on Wisconsinites and what's going on the ground here in Wisconsin. But we all also know Wisconsin does not exist in a vacuum. So how do you align with the National Republican Party and this current administration?
Sure. So I'll just be very blunt. Tom's got, a history with Trump. I was not endorsed by Trump. I'm just a regular working class guy. Maybe he doesn't even know who I am, and that's okay. At the end of the day, I have some differences with the National Party, if you will. For example, my views have kind of changed. I did grow up religious, but my view, at least with abortion, has kind of morphed into, hey, I realize, having talked to voters, talking to women, talking to people across the state, if you will, that I think it's kind of a lot of these traditional arguments don't really hold as much water in my mind, right? So in that regard, I like to talk about the idea of the root problem with abortion. So when women can't afford to have kids, when they can't have housing, when they don't know if that man will stay, when they're anxious, they're fearful, they're stressed out, when the world isn't so pretty and life's very hard. In my mind, it's a lot harder to just say to young people like myself or other people, right, to simply continue, if you will, right? And so I want to say and argue the case against the national Republican policies, if you will, saying, hey, if you address the root issue, maybe they don't have the money, maybe they're anxious, they don't have the job, they're worried about their future prospects, they aren't set up yet. I mean, there are missing jobs here in Wisconsin. It is hard to have housing that is affordable here in Wisconsin. Society's changed quite a lot. And so if we can address some of these concerns, my view is that some women, that's enough for them to feel good about their future prospects. A cat's going to come by in a second. Hey, low-key cat. Sorry, I'm going to get the cat out of the way. Just going to move her off real quick here. Because I don't want to
that is not your lieutenant governor.
No, it's not my lieutenant governor.
Okay, I'm just checking.
But no, I mean, in my mindset, look, you talk about the root causes, right? If people are always prospering, they're doing good, right? I think if you are at least in the right perspective, that's one way that you can advocate for life. It doesn't have to be the traditional marks, right? I think, for example, with the marijuana thing, right? I think it's coming one way or another for most states. I think it's just a matter of many religious voters and people in society. It's okay to have rules, guidelines. I grew up setting the table, right? And setting the table means, hey, we already kind of do this for a lot of elements of our society. No smoking zones at the Brewer Stadium, right? A little bit away from the public. If you're worried about public interaction, I mean, it's important to protect children and those who are at risk. I think it's important to protect property rights. And there can be establishments that want to allow smoking marijuana, and there's some places they don't, and that's fine. Let them do it, right? But I think we can set guidelines. I mean, in my mind, if you drive high, you drive drunk. These are the basics, right? We can always further, extrapolate on these issues. But in my mind, these issues shouldn't really be as big as they are, because at the end of the day, if we can set rules, guidelines, we can move forward on some of these things. And then obviously that money would be good for Wisconsin. Democrats talk about this already, but I mean, more money can help, get rid of different taxes for people. We can, again, address people's fears and concerns. So I just am some different perspectives from the national views. I still think that there's a lot of work we can do to better our state. And I think that there are some pros to Republicans' perspectives. There's pros to some Democrat perspectives. I'm just kind of a middle of the ground guy. That's what happens when you're in a household that comes with both perspectives, which is what I had growing up on the outskirts of Milwaukee.
We're talking with Andy Mansky. He is a Republican candidate for governor. Andy Mansky, the number 4 governor.com. Let's go to that property tax discussion, right? Because that's been a hotbed of a topic across the state over the last few weeks. You're proposing that people who've owned their home for 30 years or are over the age of 65 could pay a flat fee instead of a traditional property tax. So how would local governments in your plan, like schools, municipalities, make up for some of that lost revenue? Explain to us your plan a little bit, if you would.
Sure. So my perspective has kind of changed, if you will. Originally, I kind of had the perspective of I really want to empower people. And after 30 years, I thought, well, you should own the house you're in, and then it shouldn't be so government focused. As you talked about, the idea of the counties themselves, they do rely on that money. So my perspective is kind of morphed, if you will, and that's okay to change perspective in politics. So now my perspective has changed to kind of a flat rate, if you will, that you can kind of lock into. I've also suggested other ideas. For example, individuals who get civically involved should be able to get maybe a slight decrease in their property taxes. You're investing in the young people, you're investing in the future. In that regard, I think that math can change county to county, and it's okay to say that, because For some counties, the populations are just vastly different. But I would be willing to work with him whatever way possible. It's about giving more choice and opportunities and different ways and perspectives of how to talk about property tax as a whole, right? But in my mind, this is a middle ground from, hey, some people want to go all the way out there saying, I paid 30 years, I should own my home, right? Well, the counties also need money, and there's actual services out there. So this is a starting point. This is a conversation starter, right? But I do think it could be a good thing. There's other things we can do as well. I mean, I've talked about opportunity zones. I want to build what I define as like 5 cities here in Wisconsin. So really just these are going to be regional hubs, basically setting up new cities, new kind of routes, if you will. So Stevens Point, Ashland, where my family's from, I'll be biased. I'm sorry. I got my grandma and grandpa up there, right? A couple other cities around the state. But these are going to be areas that when they're empowered, there's, less taxes, which obviously, at least with the statewide element, right, which could empower the people there too and the communities there. So there's different ways of always pulling levers and talking about policy, but that should bring up people around, because like Milwaukee, I'm not dumb. People come into Milwaukee for jobs. They come into Madison for jobs. So if you again have a strong area with job growth and people are going to move there and there's businesses are moving in and you just empower those areas, I genuinely think they can prosper.
Andy, one of the big things that you're pushing during your campaign is that you are not a career politician. You haven't been in politics before. We've heard that a number of times, and with all due respect, is the governor's office a good place to learn politics, or is there another step? Obviously, you think yes, but why do you think this is a job for someone who's never done anything like this before?
Sure. So I've actually heard this topic a lot, going door to door and talking to people, because sometimes we do go door to door. Sure. Some older people have concerns, and I understand that. Being young.
You calling me old, Andy?
Huh?
Said you're calling me old? No, it's true. Listen, I am, and it's true. So go ahead.
No, I mean it's easy to be like that. Now my mind says this. I also look at the system and I say sometimes when you're too close to the sun, sometimes you're corrupted. You're too involved in the system. Sometimes you're not so easy to relate to the issues of the day. And I think it's okay to talk about and meet people there and learn about issues of the day. I think young people can be molded and learned, and they can be adjusted. I would argue, yes, governor is a stretch, if you will. And there's nothing saying I can't run for something local if it doesn't work out. I'm not dumb in that regard. But at the end of the day, I can advocate for policies, platforms that otherwise wouldn't be at the top of the state, if you will, because I'm talking about them. See, now we're talking about the idea of, for example, again, flat rates, 500, 1,000, just figure out a middle ground. Let's figure out what works for counties kind of thing, opportunity zones for these areas, building up the future. These are ideas that, in a stage like this and in public settings, we can start having conversations like adults, and in my mind, getting things done. So, at the end of the day,
is that part of your bigger plan? I mean, obviously you would like to win the primary and run for governor and win the governor's office, but getting these messages out there, getting these ideas out there may be as successful or a step in the right direction for you down the road.
Yeah, I mean, even just the fact that we're a Republican running on a police reform element, like accountability, I mean, that's massive. I mean, honestly, because at least in Milwaukee, where I'm at, there are a lot of people who had drugs planted on them, were abused, for example, or brutalized, right? I mean, we have police cams, and that's a step in the right direction in a lot of these cases. But at the end of the day, I think the lever a lot of people are missing is just, in my mind, I explain it like this. In the rural areas, they have sheriffs, they're elected by the people, they're trusted by the people, right? And I'm thinking like, hey, there's a model where there's this trust mechanic, right? In the cities, that could be useful, even for Democrats, I'd argue, where, hey, we can referendum, we can get together, we can referendum on other offices, we can get together. There's some sort of way that the community can get involved. And that varies from location to location. But I think it's important to, again, just simply start discussions. Some say it's impossible. Just have the conversation, get the idea out there.
Well, Andy, listen, thank you for coming on, because a lot of Republicans are a little nervous to come in and talk to us. But last question, I see you're sitting in a gamer chair. So what is your favorite video game, and how good are you at it?
Ooh, okay. So I actually play a variety of video games. I'll say what I'm not good at is shooting games. I'm not the best at them. Nowadays, I like to play strategy games. So I'm a bit of a nerd like that. I like historical games as well. So I'm a big history nerd. It varies on day to day what I'm doing, because sometimes I'm with a group of friends online. But these days, one of the games I've been playing is Europa Universalis, which is like a very old, nerdy economic simulator. I like my economics, my finance, because I went to school for economics and finance. So you do manage like a medieval economy, and you're like passing little reforms and doing different things and conquering little kingdoms. I play a little bit on the side with my buddy of mine from Iowa, but we're having a great time. So that's one of the things I'm playing right now, and I'm enjoying it a lot.
Very cool. Well, Andy, thanks so much for joining us. Good luck with the campaign. Andy Mansky for Governor. That's the number4.com. Andy Mansky for Governor.com. Andy, have a good rest of your day. Thanks again.
Yep, thanks for having me. God bless y'all.
We'll be back with more. It's Daybreak on the Civic Media Network. All right, Andy, thanks a lot.
Thank
Appreciate
you so
it.
much for your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was a
You're
pleasure.
welcome.
I am very glad to see that invite and to be able to appear with y'all. And honestly, I don't understand the drama. I told Tom himself, I said, listen, Tom, I said, it's weird to say this because Tom actually got my phone number and it was kind of really random because he just got a call one day on a Saturday.
Pranking you?
No, not even that. Like, it was a
refrigerator on?
Saturday. I do medical equipment. I'm with some family doing oxygen. And all of a sudden I get a call. I thought it was a medical call. And I'm like, hello, this is Andy. And then he's like, this is Tom Tiffany. I don't know if you wanted to size up the competition or whatever the thing. I mean, what we're
Tom,
doing these
I'm
days
working.
is just very confusing. I mean, to him even. I mean, we're doing signatures right now. And at the process, how it is, a lot of the county parties are, Tom's papers front and center, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not dumb. So we're going into places Republicans don't. And they're eyeing that up. Like, you're in Milwaukee, you're in Madison. Well, yeah, you go where voters are. You talk to them. You see what they like.
Yeah.
And
There's
you're doing as
Republican voters
Republican.
everywhere, just like Democratic voters.
It's not even just that. You can talk to, there's Democrats that like the idea of high-speed rail. There's Democrats that like the idea of just setting the table with weed and stuff. And just explaining, hey, not everybody's the same. It's okay to be different.
We were talking about
Weird concept
compromises
of talking
and
to people.
center, and we were talking about all that earlier too. So it's good to, like I said, I liked the policies.
Yeah.
So it's
Thank you.
Good luck.
Agreed.
Yeah,
Agreed.
and
Good luck.
I've encouraged Tom again to, there's friendly media and there's not so unfriendly media. I'm just saying, listen, just go wherever. You're not going to win everybody's hearts, but just let people know who you are. Be open. I'm hoping that's advice he takes at some point here, regardless of whatever happens. So,
Well, we're glad you did, and
Thank
hopefully you didn't you feel good after the interview. But thanks for being here, and have a great rest of your day.
yeah, y'all were great hopes. Thanks for having me.
Thank
God
you.
bless.
We
Andy.
appreciate
Yep, bye-bye.
it. Have a good day.
Bye.
Refreshing middle ground. I love it.
Yeah. I still don't think the governor is an entry-level job, but that's because I'm old. And we've seen what happens when we let somebody with no experience run for the top job.
This is true. This is true. I just love that there's somebody else in the race who's got who might be more in more of a center right lean, but
Yes.
is, actually is willing to compromise and talk to voters. And
Is that a Schoolhouse Rock T-shirt you have on?
yes, it is.
Okay, I'm looking at that font and I'm like, that's the only place I know that uses that font.
Yes, it is.
Very nice.
It's the Friends of the Earth Schoolhouse Rock.
Ah, nice.
Yes, yes. I had to go into I have different drawers of plain t-shirts, graphic t-shirts. So
We got 10 seconds to we're back.
Says you.
Local voices, statewide impact. It's Daybreak with Brian and Jamie.
It's 7:52 right now. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We always appreciate it. You're listening to the Civic Media Network. My name is Jamie Martinson.
Hey, good morning. I'm Brian Noonan. I want to know if rural voters in Wisconsin think the war is worth the pain that you are suffering economically. And I'll tell you why. But I also want to say, Jamie, it was nice having Andy Mansky on. We are willing. We've invited Tom Tiffany to join us too. Mm-hmm. So if Tom
Love
Tiffany,
to have a conversation with him.
come on in. We may disagree, but we are polite. So
that's right.
That's because Jamie. Here's the thing about us. Me, not as often as you, but we are adults and can have adult civil conversations.
Yes,
even with
absolutely.
people we disagree with.
I have several friends who I do not agree with politically because we met a long time ago, and they are some of my favorite people in the world, and we have some of the best conversations. And I love having those conversations with them because sometimes they challenge my way of thinking and vice versa. And I'm always appreciative of those moments.
See, that's where we differ. My friends who may not agree politically, we just don't talk politics because really they're not going to change my mind. I'm not going to change their mind. Let's just have some fun. Let's talk about everything else in our lives.
And we do that
Kids,
too.
the weather, health.
Several of my friends still work in politics though too. So inevitably it still comes up at some point. So,
All right. Well, the reason I asked about rural voters is this is a story that was in the Journal Sentinel the other day, and it was based in Colorado, but it has bearing here in Wisconsin too, because as you know, we have a lot of rural residents, we have a lot of rural voters, and I was intrigued by this. So in Wiggins, Colorado, which is northwest of Denver, gas is about 50% higher than it was last year. Wiggins is a farming town of about 1,400 in Morgan County. Oh, sorry, that's in northeast Colorado. Now, Trump won that county in 2024 by 49 points. So this is hardcore red. And I know our rural communities have gone, some are hardcore red like that, some are a little purple. But, listen to that population, listen to the description of Wiggins rather. There's a lot of towns in Wisconsin that would match this. So, nationally, the political fortunes of this administration appear to be waning, but not in some spots. His war with Iran has sent fuel prices soaring. A Reuters Ipsos poll last month found nearly 8 in 10 Americans hold the president responsible for higher gasoline prices. He was asked this week if people's economic woes were motivating him to reach a deal with Tehran, and he said this.
Not even a little bit. The only thing that matters when I'm talking about Iran, they can't have a nuclear weapon. I don't think about Americans' financial situation. I don't think about anybody. I think about one thing. We cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon. That's all. That's the only thing that motivates.
That's like children, right? Children can only think about one thing.
Yeah.
And especially when they didn't have a nuclear weapon. They weren't even close to having a nuclear weapon.
Right.
Let's not dwell on that. That's a whole different subject. But we all know it's a crock and not of delicious cheese spread. It is a crock of something horrible. So Democrats, of course, and any rational American seized on that comment as evidence that the administration was losing touch with the public. In 24 recent interviews in these small towns in Colorado, Trump voters echoed the president's logic. They said across Morgan and Weld counties, they don't care if they have to pay more for gas, if it meant eliminating a possible Iranian nuclear threat. Energy prices have also spiked under Joe Biden, they said. So gas went up then, so we don't care. This is what I'm wondering. And if you are listening to us and you live in a small community, a rural community, your prices are going up as much as our prices in Madison or in Milwaukee or in Chicago, maybe even more, because sometimes in smaller communities, the gas prices go up because there's a scarcity and they've got you. Where else are you going to go?
Right.
So I, for one, am not willing to put up with this because I'm scared of Iran. I'm not scared of Iran. I'm aware of what Iran does. I'm aware of what they have done in the past. I'm also aware that their nuclear program was under complete observation. Things were okay. Mm-hmm. This has been another statement by this president has been debunked by facts, by the intelligence communities, but he keeps harping on that. So are rural communities in Wisconsin feeling the same way? And why?
Yes. Well, here's
though?
the thing. According to recent polling, Wisconsin is directly in line with Colorado's rural voters. And I would speculate that probably goes for a lot of rural voters across the country. I don't have the polling. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but just based off of what we're hearing here in this state and from places like Colorado, I'm going to just take a leap here.
Even with not only, let's take gas prices and energy prices and stuff out of it, grocery prices. What about the lack of support for farmers? What about all of that? The tariffs that are killing.
I don't think they see it that way. And because I think that because this administration placates so often, and because they keep making these promises of it is going to get better, it's going to get better, I see that happening. Now, let's be realistic. The Democrats haven't done a great job reaching out to farmers or rural voters, though, either. But for me, I think the question always comes down to whether asking friends or even myself or even rural voters, are you financially better off today than you were 1 year ago? And I don't know how many people can honestly say yes to that. I can't imagine many rural voters, especially in this state, looking at the fertilizer prices, the diesel prices, all of that in the middle of a planting season can actually say yes to that, which is why I think this is so surprising to people.
And we subsidized beef from Venezuela. We're not subsidized. So, well, I'm always amazed when people vote against their own self-interests. And I'm not casting aspersions on rural voters. I would love to know why. What has made this happen? All right, listen. That's enough for this hour. We're done with the 7 o'clock hour. It's been nothing but turmoil. We did make it. So now when we come back, there is more stuff you need to know. See? I said it had to be.
It's me. It's all me.
Remember the delay.
I understand, Parker. I don't know. I don't know what it is. Last week, flawless. One flaw, and it didn't come till Friday at 8:30.
Yeah, you did make it. Yeah, it was 8:30. Yeah,
one misstep, but I caught myself, and nobody would have known had I not outed myself on the air.
Yeah,
it would have been because I still hit it. I just went a little early, but then I caught myself.
Sorry about that clip. I scrolled past it in the notes, and I did not realize it was this segment. That's my bad.
You're good.
I hate to say this, but you're fired. Get in line.
Okay.
I think that's going to be the interesting thing, too.
Firing Parker? That will be interesting.
If Democrats actually reach out to rural voters.
They have to.
I mean, I know that there's a lot of campaigning happening for the primary in August. I don't know how deep into the rural communities the Democratic gubernatorial candidates are getting. I haven't paid that close of attention, I guess.
I think the problem is they've written off rural voters, just like a lot of Republicans have written off urban voters. Say, well, these people can never change. Well, just listening to Andy, you go, all right, well, maybe there's a crack. Because Andy sounded like an old school Republican.
Yes, agreed.
And that's, I'm sure if we delve deeper, there'd be a lot that I would disagree with him on. But overall, on the surface, it's like, oh, okay.
But
maybe.
I think it's interesting because in 2024, the Republicans did make an effort to hit the urban areas more, and it worked.
Yeah.
It worked. There was a shift in urban voters to Donald Trump, mostly because of the economy.
Mm-hmm.
And how many? I guess I would also have to see the data on how many of those urban voters were actually independents too, because I also think that made a big difference in this past election. Was the independents that swung hard for Donald Trump, and let's be real, young black men also swung really hard for Donald Trump.
I was really surprised, but when I would talk to guys. Like on the urban station at TMJ, I would talk to them because I couldn't believe it, and they were like, "No, well, the Democrats haven't done anything there."
No,
and it makes sense if somebody's been, because the Democrats were the party of labor and the city and race and all of that, and if you've had a whole life of broken promises, then it's hard not to at least try the other. Now, I'm sure they're not thriving under this new administration, and especially Latino voters as well, who all went to Trump.
I went to a couple Souls to the Polls events in Milwaukee during the 2024 campaign. And when I got done, I remember coming back here going, we're in real trouble.
Wow.
Like I had an opportunity to talk to a lot of minority voters at those events, and I remember coming back going, no, we're actually in real trouble here. Like this is not good.
Really?
And I had one gentleman who was, I said, do you mind telling me who you're going to vote for? And he said, well, Donald Trump. I said, may I ask your reasons? I said, I'm not going to try to change your mind. I just want to know your reasons. And he proceeded to tell me that, back in 2008, he voted for Obama. Under a black man, he was promised a better way of life. And just as you're saying, nothing changed.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely nothing changed. And it seemed like it got worse. And then there was also this backlash about just because Kamala Harris was a black woman, why should we vote for her? There was a huge backlash. Like they were being told that this was the only way forward is to vote for Kamala Harris. And they were like, doesn't mean she's going to be a good president. Doesn't mean she represents me. She's never lived in an urban area like Milwaukee. She doesn't know what my plight is. Like that was literally what I was hearing when I was at those events. And there were a lot of black women who also were not fans of Kamala Harris because she didn't actually know what it was like to struggle like they had on a day-to-day basis, or at least they presume she didn't.
Right. And that's another mark of the purity test.
Right.
Did she struggle? Well, everybody has a different upbringing.
Sure.
So, and it didn't sound like it was real easy for Kamala Harris.
No,
as
I
a
don't
kid.
think it was.
It doesn't sound like her life was peachy keen.
It was just it was interesting, and sitting there with them, I learned a lot. And it was pretty much at that point where I still had faith in the election, but I was pretty terrified going in just based on what they had told me and I had heard. And some of them were just like, why should I vote at all? Nothing's going to change for me. So a lot of them had just voted to sit out.
Right.
They were just like, no, I'm just not even going to show up. So that was also disheartening because you knew, just like we talked, they were voting against their own self-interest or not voting.
All right. We got about 10 seconds to our back.
From Lake Superior to Lake Michigan, this is Wisconsin's Morning Conversation. Daybreak with Brian and Jamie.
It's 8:06 right now. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. If you're in Appleton and Oshkosh, listening on WISS, in Eau Claire, listening on 93.5 The Tap, or in Hayward, listening on WBZH, we are certainly glad that you decided to join us this morning. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And good morning. I'm Brian Noonan. Glad you're here. You can always jump in at 855-75-CIVIC, 855-752-4842. If you miss any of the program, don't forget to go to Spotify, subscribe to Daybreak with Brian and Jamie, and get all the podcasts. Maybe you missed our interview with Andrew Mansky, who is a Republican candidate for governor. Maybe you missed that and you want to go back and find it. All the podcasts are there on Spotify, so go check those out. It is just after 8 o'clock, and that means it's time for stuff you need to know. I almost said it.
It's a wake-up call in more ways than one. Time for some you need to know.
Because pretty soon, everybody's disobeying the law. The FCC is just,
we're going
to be fine.
Get the dump
Pretty
button
soon,
ready, Parker.
I'll be fine for not saying it. That's what
so
they're going to be.
in this segment. We don't have it. We can't. Don't say it.
They'll be like, why are they being so woke? Just say the word. All right, sir.
There are still violations and things.
Well,
listen,
they're so busy trying to get rid of Colbert. You think they care if a guy in Wisconsin says the
and
S
the
word?
And The View. They're also trying to get rid of
Oh,
The View.
they're trying to get rid of The View?
Yeah.
Oh. Get rid of everybody.
That's right.
Everybody. No, there shall be no dissension. Anyone with an opposite view will be flogged. Parker probably wants to flog everybody from Baylor because Baylor outstressed and outpitched Wisconsin early in the Badgers' season-ending 5-2 loss on Saturday in the Austin Regional of the NCAA softball tournament. Wisconsin scored first. Hillary Blomberg had a solo home run in the first inning. That gave the Verona native sole possession of the UW single-season home run record with 16. Congratulations, Hillary. But that lead was short-lived, Parker. Baylor answered with a 4-run bottom of the first inning, in part thanks to some shrewd base running. You gotta respect shrewd base running and small ball. The first run came as Samaya Jones stole second base. Brooklyn Carter stole home on the throw. That's always fun to watch. Baylor then loaded the bases and scored on an RBI single. So the Bears loaded the bases again. Oh, man, Wisconsin, what happened to your pitching? Then they walked somebody in the fifth. UW started pitcher Barrett Herr. She stopped the bleeding at that point. Okay. And reliever Kendra Lewis worked out of a bases-loaded jam in the third. The Badgers had opportunities to come back. Frank sent us a headline saying they had won. That was because the season-ending outcome was one day after Wisconsin had beaten Baylor in the first round of the Austin Regional. In that game, Hannah Conger hit a walk-off double. Wisconsin ends its 2026 season with a 33-21 record. Not too shabby. The UW's back-to-back 30-plus win seasons in 25 and 26 were the first for the Badgers since 2011-2014. So good for you. Sorry it ended so soon, Lady Badgers. But we don't call them Lady Badgers anymore, do we? Just Badger softball.
That sounds as dramatic as the White Sox-Cubs game yesterday. And yes, I'm bringing it back up for your pain.
Bring it back up. Thank you. It is, I'm on cloud 9 today, not just because of the win, but because of Frank's angst. That's because we established last week, Jamie, that Frank is fueled by hate.
Yes.
And so...
Again, we'd established that the week before. Was there more?
Oh,
there's always more.
All last week.
All right.
Last week it was save me the first segment. Save me the first segment.
He just texted the show chat telling us we all suck. So
yeah.
See, he hates us.
But we suck in first place, Frank.
That's right.
More stuff you need to know.
All right. In other news, a proposal to fund $1 billion in security additions for the White House campus and the president's new ballroom failed to meet procedural rules, according to the Senate parliamentarian, dealing a blow to Republican plans to include it as part of a bill to fund immigration enforcement agencies for the next 3 years. The parliamentarian's ruling, described late Saturday by Senate Democrats, said that funding for a project as large and complex as President Trump's massive East Wing renovation is too broad to be included in this narrow GOP budget bill, which cannot be filibustered and only needs a simple majority to pass. The filibuster was a large part of the Wisconsin GOP convention, by the way, this weekend. Ron Johnson making it clear that it needs to be completely undone before the Democrats come back into power.
All those pesky Democrats.
I digress. Now, at this point, it is unclear if Republicans will be able to immediately salvage any part of this $1 billion Secret Service proposal, which would fund security for Trump's ballroom along with other parts of the White House, including a new visitor screening center, additional training for agents, and extra reinforcements for large events. Republicans said Saturday night that they are revisiting the legislation based on the parliamentarians' advice. A spokesman for Senate Majority Leader John Thune wrote in a post on X that, quote, none of this is abnormal during the complicated budget process that Republicans are using to try to pass the immigration enforcement and White House security money on a partisan basis. Democrats have seized on the security request, accusing Republicans of dedicating precious federal resources to the ballroom effort instead of focusing on helping Americans with rising costs. Republicans have insisted that private donations will be used to build the ballroom and that the federal dollars are focused on much-needed security enhancements. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer took credit for the ruling after Democrats argued to the parliamentarian that the security money doesn't belong in the bill. The ruling from the Senate parliamentarian is just advisory, but such rulings are rarely, if ever, ignored Okay. When lawmakers put together legislation that can pass with a simple majority, most bills are subject to a filibuster and thus need 60 votes for passage, meaning Republicans must find some Democrat support in the 53 to 47 Senate. And of course, we know that this GOP doesn't really care about the rules or regulations, and pretty much
And can we
proceed
also
however
stop
they
with
want.
can we stop with the lie that it's all going to be privately funded? We know
It's
that's
not.
not true, and we
It's
know
not.
we wouldn't need all these extra security measures. We already have a bunker. There's already Secret Service. Even if you want to make a screening section a little better, which okay, that's fine. That's not $1 billion. You don't need a second bunker under this ballroom. We didn't need the ballroom. Nobody wanted the ballroom. It's a non-starter. But they keep using the same talking points, and it's tiresome, quite frankly. It's like, no, we know. If you're asking for $1 billion, it's not being funded by private donations.
Right.
It's not.
Right.
This is another vanity project.
It's going to be done, a lot of this through taxpayer money. And here's the thing. The government at this stage obviously does not have the same priorities that you and I do.
They have no
Because if they did, they would know that the rising costs are most people's main priorities at this point, not a $1 billion security effort in a ballroom that basically isn't really needed. I mean, there still is no reason.
100% isn't needed.
There isn't a purpose for this ballroom other than the fact that this administration wants to create a version of the president's private home at the White House.
Yes.
And now we've taken a historic building that you and I own because taxpayer owned building because it's the White House, and we've destroyed it without any sort of congressional support, votes, anything. And now we're asking us to support a building that we've already been supporting for many, many years. And this is where we're at in this particular loop of events.
It's $1 billion for this. It's $1,776,000,000 for this slush fund deal. It's just more money rolling in for these vanity projects. And that's really all it is. It's a guy with a really fragile ego who is putting up golden statues of himself, erecting arches, repainting the reflecting pool, gilding the White House in tacky gold lame. The whole thing is creating a kingdom. And he is being allowed to do that. But this is nuts. It's our money, folks. It's if you're
the folks in Washington work for us. They work for us.
Well, do they? On
Yes.
paper, I know they're supposed to, Jamie. Do you feel like they work for you? I honestly don't.
I haven't in quite some time.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, they do still work for us.
Yeah, but
That we don't need to vote them in.
we can
Somebody
technically
them.
fire them at election time. But if you or I are doing as poor a job as Congress would be doing, they're not going to give us 6 years to vote us out of the Senate. They're not going to give us 4 years.
Lifetime appointment, essentially.
Right, exactly. We are, you and I and everybody else, if we're doing a horrible job, we're ousted right then.
Mm-hmm.
These guys, yes, they work for us. They don't. Technically, we can fire them. Yeah, but it's going to take a long time. And a lot of these guys, they never get fired. No matter how awful they are, they never get fired.
Then it's time to buckle up, folks, and get ready for the midterms because there's some really great candidates and there's a lot of lifelong congressional members that are being primaried.
Yeah, we saw it over the weekend.
Yeah. It's time to buckle up, and it's time to decide whether we want this government to actually work for the people, which are us, who are paying for things like this ballroom, or if we want this government to continue to function as it is. And I don't know. I'm not done with this experiment called the United States and democracy yet. I don't think we've fully seen what it's capable of. I'm not ready for it to be over.
I'm not either, but it really seems like it's on its way out, and we're just along for the ride. We're just watching it happen, and I don't know what drastic measures it's going to take other than a huge turnout at the polls. That's it. That's our only recourse is to get everybody out.
Hopefully people are getting upset enough, even with everything we're seeing with the Supreme Court rulings on the Voting Rights Act, the gerrymandering, because none of these states want gerrymandering. That's it. A lot of these states have already said, no, we don't want this, which is where this is coming from, right?
Yeah.
Because these state governments then are like, well, they don't possibly know what they want. Yes, they actually do. They've told you they don't want this. They've voted against it, yet you're going against the will of the people.
Because the orange one wants it. And what the orange one wants, the orange one gets. Last thing, real quick, a new lawsuit from the League of Women Voters of Wisconsin argues allowing clerks to decide whether or not to offer absentee voters a chance to correct information on their mail-in ballots violates the state constitution. The group is asking a Dane County judge to order a uniform and mandatory process for addressing defective ballots and notifying those who mail them. The suit was filed Tuesday in Dane County Circuit Court. It claims giving local clerks the discretion to create their own procedures for telling voters about how to fix missing or incomplete information on absentee ballot envelopes violates state due process provision. The League of Women Voters of Wisconsin argues that because clerks in some communities can decide not to notify voters who then won't know their ballots weren't counted until after the election. Oh, that sounds sus.
Wisconsin doesn't have a statewide rule on this.
Well, they need one.
There's a statute, 6.87, but there's no clear statewide rule. So clerks can essentially decide to do whatever they want to do. So that's not cohesive. That's not consistent.
Clerks work for us too, don't they?
Which I think is what the League of Women Voters is trying to say. It's about integrity. Let's have a cohesive rule for everybody that we all have to follow.
Integrity is a big word, and a lot of people not only can't pronounce it, they don't understand it. We'll be back. Oh, AI is coming to Wisconsin. It's Daybreak.
All right.
Yeah, I was digging into this last night. I was like, okay, well, this is interesting. Then I was like, oh, so there's a statute, but it doesn't actually have a clear-cut rule. So essentially, a clerk from any county can choose to do whatever they want. That's weird. So for some, they can choose to call you. They can choose to email you. Another community may choose to give you a chance to fix a missing address, but in other counties, that the clerks can decide just to reject your ballot, and you might not even know it until after the election. So there's multiple ways. I was like, what? That's weird. So it's not about fraud. It's literally about the consistency of everybody being on the same page and having the same rules to follow. So any Republican or anybody who wants to scream about fraud, no, it just turns out that we have a really bad state statute. Which doesn't make any sense to me.
Can you guys hear that air conditioning?
No.
Parker?
No.
Okay. I guess I can hear it because I'm in here. Huh? You can hear birds?
I could hear Andy's birds.
Andy's birds.
Was it his cat with a toy?
I love that he was in a gamer chair, too. I was like,
yeah.
Nothing on the walls, just a gamer chair.
Well, he's 26. I get it.
I know, yeah. No, it's... Well, listen, when I was 26, I had stuff on my walls.
I'm pretty sure Corey didn't. No, Corey didn't. He didn't have anything on his walls till I moved in.
Oh, my Lord.
He had a 2-bedroom apartment. One was just a bed and a nightstand, and the other one was this full-out studio.
Just flags.
And it had a
Saturdays are for the boys.
His living room. His living room had a recliner in it, and then projection TV on a blank wall.
Nice. 10 seconds.
Seriously?
Wow.
Local voices, statewide impact. It's Daybreak with Brian and Jamie.
8:22 right now. We hope that you are having a great start to your Monday. Warm and humid across much of the state with a chance for some severe weather as well. So please stay weather alert throughout today. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And good morning. I'm Brian Noonan. How do you get a hold of us? Well, it's easy. 855-75-CIVIC, 855-752-4842. If you call in, be sure you're nice to Parker because he's working hard there, and he's the one he is our gatekeeper. If you're not nice to him, you don't get to us. That's how it works. We were talking, or Jimmy, you brought up how dry it is up in the northwest part of the state.
Bad.
Things are very bad. Yesterday, I saw they had put out another fire ban. There are no burn permits for the weekend. So things are rough up there, even though, as Jamie mentioned, we're having potential for big storms across the middle of the state, just like where the blizzards came and the floods came and the center of the state. This time it's going on kind of an angle. But for all our worries about AI, and they are many and they are legitimate, this sounds like a really good use of AI. Xcel Energy is introducing AI-powered wildfire detection cameras across Wisconsin to improve early fire detection and protect communities, forests, and power infrastructure. The technology comes from Pano AI. It combines high-definition cameras, artificial intelligence, and satellite data for continuous monitoring. That sounds much better than raking the forests.
I think this might
More
actually
effective.
worked.
Yeah.
What I love about this is I always say that if AI is used for the right purposes, I can get totally behind it. It's when it falls into the wrong hands and is being used for the wrong purposes.
Sure.
I feel like this is a really great use of AI. 9 cameras are already installed across northwestern Wisconsin, including in Hayward, Luck, Spooner, Toma, Birchwood, Cumberland, Mercer, Southwind Lake, and Manitowash Waters. And I think this is fascinating because I don't know if everybody knows this, but there's already been nearly 500 wildfires already this year. About half of those started by something as simple as burning debris.
Right.
Because, we like to do that around here. And when you have conditions and red flag warnings like they do across multiple counties right now, and they're suspending these burn permits, not exactly the best use of your time to be out burning debris.
No, stop just burning things willy-nilly. I love a good campfire. Oh, hold on. I'm about to sneeze. Jamie, you can talk. I'm going to.
Okay. All right. So I think Brian was going to say how much he loved a good campfire, but we have to be a little bit careful. Now, each of these camera performs a 360-degree scan every minute using AI to detect smoke and then alert human analysts who verify the threat before notifying any of those emergency responders. And the system can triangulate the exact location of a fire and then send real-time alerts to local fire departments and dispatch centers, which I think is really cool because that then essentially means that you're going to get to potentially the source before it has a chance to spread like what we saw last year in that particular area, because when we were talking fires last year in northern Minnesota.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's
scary.
it. And the Canada ones, we've all had to breathe the smoke of a distant fire. We've all had it come at us. But and that's why we think of them as far away, West Coast. A lot of California wildfires are way north in Canada. But officials are saying they're getting more and more common in Wisconsin because of the changing weather conditions, drier environments like we're seeing up in the North Woods, all of that. So I like this. And it can also be used for severe weather, which we know we get here in Wisconsin a lot. So it can help judge what's going on, and it's part of a wider program. They're going to use it for deforestation, which is basically raking the woods. So maybe the president was right after all. Not. But, this is why, I don't know if you saw, there were a number of commencement addresses over the last week where pro-AI people were being booed roundly by the graduates because basically, they were telling them AI was going to take over their jobs and they had nothing to live for and blah, blah, blah.
What an uplifting speech at a commencement
Yeah, that's
ceremony.
great. Hey, glad you paid all that money. A machine's going to take your job. But to your point, AI, if used as the tool it was created for, can do some amazing things. And I think this is an amazing thing when you think of just the cost of what is lost from a fire, even if it's not in a area where you're losing structures and you're affecting people's homes and businesses. The loss of that land is immeasurable because how long it will take to replace, what it means as far as erosion, what it means as far as on the West Coast, I would around mudslides and all that kind of thing. So it's a wide-ranging problem, and I'd be interested to now as it goes forward see how it works. And it also is going to just, as you said, respond in real time. You get people on it, fighting it before it has a chance to spread more than it does now when we're not sure where it started, where it's going, if it's even happening till it's out of control.
I mean, and I think that's just the thing, too. When you look at, anytime you're dealing with destruction like what these wildfires can cause, it's always catastrophic. But when you look at towns in Wisconsin who primarily exist in some locations because of the outdoor space.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the other thing I think about. We're talking about, livelihoods. We're talking about tourism. We're talking about full community economies when these wildfires get too devastating. And so I think the fact that this is a system that allows DNR and fire services to be more proactive is really good, because this isn't a reaction to damage that's already done. This is the potential chance to prevent it before it even starts. And what I also appreciate about this is, as I know, we haven't been huge fans of a lot of our electric companies over this last year because of data centers and things like that. But Xcel actually plans to expand this system by the end of 2026 and really focus on areas with higher wildlife risks near power lines as well. So good stuff.
That's not bad. After the news, does the separation of church and state still matter to you? We will talk about that and more. I'm Brian Noonan. This is Daybreak.
I'm Jamie Martinson. It is 8:29 right now, and this is the Civic Media Network.
I got dog duty. I'll be back.
Okay.
Them dogs are howling.
They're hungry. The Ring of Fire. Very nicely done.
I am mad at myself for not thinking of it before the
I love that song. It's one of my favorites.
I know I had heard it before, but I'd never thought anything of it.
Johnny Cash.
And then, oh God, were we in a bar or were we driving to or fro? I don't remember, a buddy of mine and I. And he starts singing Ring of Fire. I'm like, what the hell is happening?
Ring of Fire is a great song.
It is.
It's a fantastic song. So far today, excuse me, my goodness, yawning's contagious.
Stop it.
I'm sorry.
I've made it so far. Getting close.
So far today, as I've been watching in downtown Madison.
Yes, what's your people watching?
I've seen a street sweeper sweep the wet streets.
Nice.
I've seen a homeless woman almost get hit because nobody was paying attention and they just kept driving, which was not good. I've seen a woman drop her entire briefcase on the sidewalk and then watch it fly open. Which
that sucks.
Was a little funnier. It does suck, but it was a little funnier. And I've been there, so I can laugh.
Yeah.
I also watched somebody try to parallel park, which I can also laugh about because I cannot parallel park.
Yeah.
It's not my strong suit. Not that this should surprise anybody who listens to this show.
I tried one time and I quit.
I will drive around for blocks and blocks, just looking for a spot that I can just pull into.
Yeah.
Drives my husband absolutely bonkers, which is why I become a passenger princess most of the time. Because it was funny too, because yesterday he wasn't feeling well, or Saturday as we were driving home from Ely. Yeah. And I said, "Do you want me to drive?" Sure. And he just looked at me and he goes, "Just sit there." I was like, okay. Obviously you're not feeling well, but we don't need to be rude. I don't feel well either, but I know that you got less sleep than I did last night. So I was trying to be nice, but it would have drove him nuts. Yeah. He wouldn't have been able to rest anyway. Sure. And then last week we had to run a bunch of errands and he rode with me. And telling me what to do the entire time. Get in this lane, do this. Why didn't you merge here? I'm like, how do I get places when you aren't with me? Ever. Gosh. It's amazing I can handle myself in public. Parallel parking I can't do. I think I make it just fine everywhere else.
There's certain things that are limited in. It's not everything.
I do know how to merge and use a blinker without your help. Thank you. I was so annoyed.
I don't think I've said hello to the stream today. Hello, stream.
I was just going through all the things I've witnessed on State Street this morning.
Street sweeper. What else?
I witnessed a homeless woman almost get hit because she was walking. Yes, by a car because nobody would stop for her. She was trying to cross the street. I watched another woman dump her briefcase as she was carrying it across the street, flew open on the street, which really sucks, but it was funny. And I've been there, so I can laugh. And I've also watched somebody try to parallel park, which they could not do.
Oh, that's always a treat.
And I cannot parallel park, so I can make fun of anybody who can't parallel park. Oh, I suck at it.
Yeah. They don't teach it anymore.
I know.
What?
So.
Yeah,
Are
no,
you
Max
kidding?
didn't have to learn it either. No.
Yeah, I didn't get taught how to do it.
God,
No.
that explains so much.
No, I can't parallel park at all.
That's why they need to make the parking spots bigger now.
Oh, God.
At least they should. I don't think they do, but they should.
And we were talking about how I asked Corey because he wasn't feeling well Saturday coming home if he wanted me to drive for a little bit because he'd gotten like 2 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
I didn't feel well either, but I'd at least gotten more sleep. He absolutely wouldn't let me drive no matter how badly he felt.
Nope.
And then before we left, we had to run errands together and he was telling me how to merge and when to merge. And I'm like, how do I get places without you? My goodness.
10 seconds till we're back.
All facts, no fiction. It's Daybreak with Brian and Jamie.
It's 8:35 right now. We hope that you are having a great Monday morning. Thank you so much for joining us today on the Civic Media Network. My name is Jamie Martinson.
Good morning. I'm Brian Noonan. Our number, 855-75-CIVIC. We want to know if the separation of church and state still matters to you, and if so, why? And if not, why not? And it's becoming more and more necessary. It's something we all just seem to have taken for granted before. If you were religious, that was cool. If you weren't religious, that was cool. Whatever religion you were, go on about your business. The government had no say in it. Well, that has changed. We've talked about the rise of Christian nationalism on this program. We see it all the time with this administration. Not just the president, but Pete Hegseth and others wrapping themselves in the cloak of Christianity to try to further their views and make people, Christian evangelicals, just believe that they are, and some have actually said that they are a gift they were sent by God to rescue us. Well, yesterday, another step toward that nationalism of not religion, but one particular religion, took another step. There was an all-day prayer event on the National Mall yesterday. It was backed by the White House through a mix of taxpayer funds and private donations. And I will be honest, I don't want my money going to pay for some big religious hootenanny. I don't need a religious rave going on. I don't want to pay for it. It's the most recent flashpoint in the Trump administration's blurring separation of church and state. The event was dubbed Rededicate 250. A national jubilee of prayer, praise, and thanksgiving. It's part of a series of celebrations commemorating America's 250th birthday and is expected to feature video messages from the president and other members of the cabinet. Mike Johnson also delivered remarks yesterday. It brought together faith leaders, public officials, and musicians to reflect and worship ahead of the anniversary of the nation's founding. And this nation was founded with a clear separation of church and state. But I quibble with the details.
Something in the
Why?
Constitution, I believe, about a separation of church and state. But, Hey,
why do I worry
who am
though,
I?
Jamie? What does it matter? Let's be honest.
I kind of wish I had such a strong opinion of myself that I believed that I had been sent down to this world for some higher purpose. Like, who goes around thinking that about themselves?
Well, I mean, we all believe we have a purpose. I don't
Sure.
believe I am a gift from
I'm
God.
not
I
an
am more like a
anointed one.
right.
I
I'm
don't
like one of
believe
the
I'm
trials that
anointed.
Job had to go through. That's what the people. If you survive me, you are one step closer to peace.
Right.
But this is, again, it's a Judeo-Christian ethos. It is not, even though there were a couple conservative Catholic bishops there was one Orthodox rabbi, but it was evangelical Christians. They are arrogant enough to believe that theirs is the only religion, that theirs religion should not only be practiced, which, fine, yes, if that is your faith, go ahead and practice it. But how dare you have the arrogance to try to push that on everybody else? Because there are fine people, to paraphrase, and using it in a more flattering way, in a more truthful way than the president once did. There are fine people on all sides of religions. Yes. There are fine people who have no interest in religion, whether they're atheist or agnostic. Fine people who live wonderful lives of service and have no concept of the man in the sky.
Right. I mean, the separation of church and state, as we mentioned, is baked into the foundation of this country. And it's literally there to make sure that the government doesn't favor one religion over another or a religion over no religion absolutely at all. I mean, let's be realistic. This country was founded on a persecution of differences in religion and views and government. So at its core, it essentially protects something super fundamental, which is religious freedom for everyone. So when the government stays neutral, it ensures that no single group can actually dictate the law, no minority belief gets pushed aside, and that every person has the freedom to practice or not practice, if that's what they choose, religion without any sort of pressure or coercion. Have we ever seen a moment in this nation's history, modern history, where we've had our federal government basically hosting events like this for the nation?
Does this concern you? 855-75-CIVIC, 855-752-4842. Something's going on with the phone line, so just text if you want to get involved in the program. We'd love to, we'll share your text with everybody. It's supposed to be, this Freedom 250 is supposed to be a nonprofit subsidiary of the National Park Foundation.
Yes.
Now, I don't know, despite it being on national park property, I don't know how much the national park is actually behind this. Somehow I have a feeling. Now, they're doing 250, but they're doing, celebrations like fireworks and things like that, all American stuff where we blow things up. This is, to your point, I don't remember, there's no national religious observance. I mean, you could argue the lighting of the Christmas tree, but that's the Christmas tree, you could also argue, is a secular symbol of Christmas and blah, blah, blah. And the White House does put out a menorah, and they put out a Christmas tree, and they put out things for representing, in the past, put out all religions. And city halls have either decided they're going to put out all matter of religious symbolism for holidays, or they're going to put none. And I would argue putting none is better than ignoring some. But this is a pure move for this Christianity. And I have to go back, and I know this has been argued from the time he came down that golden elevator. This is a man who does not seem to practice or embody any Christian values at all. Avarice, greed, gluttony. He's all of the deadly sins. He's an admitted adulterer. He is a convicted sexual offender. He has been a failure at business. He has disenfranchised the needy. He has mocked the handicapped. How is this anything near Christian? If you're a Christian, where does this where does the label come from that this man was sent by God? He's erected false idols of himself.
This is the part of this, and I know a couple of weeks ago we had a gentleman on who joined us to talk about the Christian nationalism, and I really think we need to have him back at some point again as well, because this is what he talked about, and you can listen to that show over at civicmedia.us.
Or better yet, on Spotify.
That's right. And he talked about the fact that it's seen as a strength, and that's what they see in this president. They don't really care about the means of how they get there. They care about the strength that it exudes.
But those used to be considered weaknesses of character.
Yes,
all those things I listed. Those were not considered strengths.
I don't know when this flipped. And I know a lot of people who are really strong in their faith, and I believe that faith is a much different thing than religion.
100%.
Because you can be spiritual and you can have faith, but that doesn't necessarily mean you have religion. And it also means that you are compassionate. I think when you practice faith and spirituality, I think that's where we've convoluted this line. And there's I don't really understand where we drew this line and when we actually drew it and when it was okay, because I know several people who are very religious who at one point in time would have never been able to consider this president as somebody that they applauded, that they aligned with. And now all of a sudden they think that his ideas and the things that he says are the best ideas they've ever heard. And I really, and these are friends, or used to be. We've grown so distinctly different in our viewpoints that I can't communicate with them. And I don't know when that happened. There had to be some sort of line. And I think a lot of us have seen that. I think a lot of us in our lives have had those people who have taken a distinct turn at some point, and I don't know when it happened. And I don't know if will we ever get back to the point where we don't politicize religion?
It's gotten to the point. Well, first of all, to your point, religion is a man-made construct. Faith is something else. Religion, because every religion believes they're the only one. They have the true word, and blah blah blah. That is another form of tribalism. But what should really worry you, if you are Catholic, Jewish, Muslim, Baptist, anything other than evangelical Christian, they're coming for us. They don't want your religion. They want to rule with their religion, and their religion will soon be intertwined with every law. They've tried to do it for years, the moral majority and all of these political action committees that are nothing but extreme religious sects that are trying to influence policy. And if this continues, and this is allowed to continue, that's where we're headed. One religion, all the rest need not apply, and all our laws will be based in some sort of whatever kind of faith they believe. Cindy in Appleton texts in phony Christians, and that's now I'm not talking rank and file Christians.
Sure.
You know who I'm talking about. I'm talking about these people who, for political, financial, and power gains, wrap themselves, just like they do in the flag, they wrap themselves in Christianity and try to pass themselves off as legitimate, caring Christians.
I mean, that was the whole reason, again, that this country was founded, to do away with that, with one type of religion. And it was there. Obviously, there was more to it than that, but that was the main reason why people from England started coming to this country, is to show that they could live a different way, and they didn't need to basically endure those tyrannical rules of religion, right? And so the fact that people are okay with going right back to that sort of thinking is really unfathomable to me. And is it because there's a fear of the way the world is changing? Is it a fear that they think they're going to be left behind? I mean, those are the questions that always come to my mind. Julie in Wausau chiming in this morning in text says, I grew up in a very conservative church. I found that the loudest Christians are the biggest hypocrites. And I
that's usually the way they're screaming. Now there's been a lot of discussion about whether this was even constitutional. So CNN talked to a few experts. A professor at Northwestern University said the event is permitted because no court issued an injunction to stop it, but that is contrary to the fundamental purposes of the Constitution. This kind of divisive embrace of a particular religion and trying to associate the incumbent administration with that religion is bad for religion, bad for government, bad for America. Another a man who specializes in religion and law at the University of Texas said he believes the event is, quote, flagrantly unconstitutional. He said it's unconstitutional because it is explicit government promotion of religion, and not just religion in general, but a fairly certain version of one particular religion. And then there was a professor of law and religion at Villanova who argued there can be an intersection of religious faith and on the public square, noting the prayers at open sessions of Congress, blah, blah, blah. He said, I think it's the kind of overemphasizing the idea of separation to think an event like this raises constitutional problems. When we come back, what discontinued product do you still miss? It's Daybreak on the Civic Media Network. Got there.
I mean, I think too, this is a matter of it's still doing away with everything that we're seeing with the immigration policy, right?
Yeah.
If we have one strong white religion, right, then it does away with the mosques, the synagogues.
Yeah.
It does away with all of that, to which they don't see as...
Well, because American citizens don't believe in that.
Right. And unfortunately, yeah, they do.
If you belong here, you wouldn't be at a mosque.
And so I think it
You'd
goes
be at
back
a church
to that.
cheating with the pastor.
I think it's another fight against all of that. So, and it's essentially making sure that this country looks and all thinks the same.
Yeah. And there's enough people who want to be in that group. We don't want to make waves. We follow the leader. They call Democrats and liberals sheep, but man, they are the biggest flock you've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is, to the point they all wear the same suit he does. They all wear his shoes.
Yes.
It is truly a cult. And then when you have religious leaders praying over that golden statue, I was like,
that's
dude,
idols.
I'm a lapsed Catholic and I know the Ten Commandments. I grew up with that. I've also seen statues of dictators around the world,
right?
And I
mean,
I get it.
This is where the form of democracy loosely, that this administration wants, though, that only serves some and doesn't serve everyone. And I think it's a process of ridding out then of the people that they don't think deserve to be here.
Right. Well, no, I mean that's they said it. They only want certain people voting. They want to hold on, and it's fear. Now it's
sure.
Now it's all fear, but still, it just oh my God,
Mr.
I don't
Plow
know how
King says I'm an atheist and I'm a better Christian than these nationalists. He also goes on to say, if Frank can find me in the bleachers tonight, I'll buy him a beer and watch the Brewers lose.
Ouch.
Because the Brewers and Cubs start that series tonight.
I know. Wow.
That's just mean.
Frank paid a lot of money for his beers yesterday, I know, because I texted him that my drinks on the deck were much cheaper than his.
And after that
and I was drinking doubles. What?
Oh. And I'm assuming after that loss, you probably needed a lot of drinks.
Yeah.
I'm guessing.
Could pay $17 for a Miller Lite.
Just guessing, Frank.
This is it. After today, no chirping.
Brian, did you want to bump in with this?
Yeah, let's bump in with it.
Okay. That's what I figured. 15 seconds.
Thank you, sir.
let myself introduce me. I'm Schlitz.
You're out of Schlitz.
There's just one Schlitz. Yeah, yeah. Nothing else comes near. When you're out of Schlitz.
Just ask.
You're out of beer.
What makes Schlitz irreplaceable? Taste it. This is the most carefully brewed beer in the world. It takes 1,174 careful steps to create that special taste.
All right, well, I just wanted the jingle at the end. I don't want to give Schlitz an entire 1-minute commercial. But this is welcome back. Sorry, Parker. I thought I gave you the timestamp on that. But yeah, this is the whole commercial.
But it's
anyway,
catchy.
that's the Schlitz. Yeah, that's part of the Schlitz thing. You know Schlitz, the beer that made Milwaukee famous, the beer with gusto. If you're out of Schlitz, you're out of beer, the whole deal. Well, I'm not going to bury the lead, Jamie. Schlitz is going away.
Yes, I heard. And this is actually
Very
sad. It is sad because, this is a Milwaukee staple from back in 1849 when the company was founded.
Yep. So before we give you the postmortem on Schlitz, is there a discontinued product that you still miss? 855-75-CIVIC, 855-752-4842. Yes, Jimmy, as you mentioned, Schlitz has been around for basically forever. It was founded in it's been a Milwaukee staple since 1849. It was bought by Pabst in 1999. The original Schlitz rolled into Minnesota and then the Dakotas in the late 1800s. So your relatives, your great-great-grandparents, Jamie, were probably slamming Schlitz somewhere out on the prairies.
Probably.
So that's, So up in Minneapolis served as one of the primary cities for the rebrand in 800. We probably all remember Schlitz malt liquor, the Bull, the Billy D. Williams commercials, all of that. But Schlitz, the beer that made Milwaukee famous, is going away. And that's something, now I understand marketing trends and sales and all of this, but Milwaukee's identity is around beer. As Wisconsin's is. And so to see an iconic brand go away like that is a little bit sad.
It
so
is.
They're going to send it off with dignity and respect, according to Schlitz. It's hard to find even in Milwaukee. If you go, I don't know anybody who drinks Schlitz. Parker, you drink a lot of Schlitz at the frat parties?
I'm not sure if I've ever had Schlitz. Maybe once.
Yeah, I haven't had Schlitz in its decades. Is a conservative thing. If it was around and it was all that was there, I was drinking Schlitz. But I know there's a lot of folks who were very dedicated because beer is a brand loyal kind of thing, or it used to be. So they're going to have it to send the Milwaukee icon off. According to the Milwaukee Brewing Company, they will brew a final 80-barrel batch of Schlitz on May 23rd at its Verona brewery. Then they'll give a talk about the brand at 1 p.m. Now, Frank says he drinks Schlitz on tap at Simon's Tavern in Chicago. $6 cash. Nice. All right. That's a good reason to drink Schlitz. $6. You can't beat that. So they say that Schlitz, as I mentioned, deserves to go out with dignity and respect. They were going to have you can pre-order your Schlitz if you want to do that. It opens on Saturday. Saturday is when the pre-orders open. Yes. It'll be available on June 27th. The same day they're going to hold a public event celebrating the brand, a Schlitz funeral.
That's a little sad, though, right? Because it also had so many references in some of those iconic TV shows. Like, I think of Laverne and Shirley. They always made references back to Schlitz beer. Happy Days was also another one that made reference to Schlitz beer periodically. So I think there's a little bit of, adoration for Schlitz. And
it's a name that we in beer pantheon should be remembered. It goes back to those days of there was Schlitz, there was Old Milwaukee, there was Hamm's, Old Style, and Old Style became huge in the Chicago market. It was big everywhere, but then there were certain, like Schlitz was Milwaukee, and Old Milwaukee was Old Milwaukee, and then you go to like Pittsburgh, and it's Steel City, and those are the kind of brands that helped identify a town. When a town and a brand are that intertwined, it makes it a little sadder. Like there's this chain that used to be around the Chicago area, Cock Robin, and it was ice cream, and they made the best steamed hamburgers. And I still drive by where those places used to be in their parking lots now or something else. And I do miss those because they were intertwined for me with parts of my life
Heritage.
being here in Chicago.
Yeah. And tradition. So is there besides the Schlitz beer, is there one product for you that has gone away that you're like, oh God, I really, really miss that?
I was thinking about that a lot. And as far as local products, not really. This is sad, but I still miss Captain Crunch is still around, but they changed it. So I miss the old Captain Crunch.
Hostess cupcakes too. They're not like what they used to be.
All of that, yeah. When they retooled all that and tried to make them healthier,
gross.
they can't. They're just chemical bombs.
No.
Let us eat them. We're just going to enjoy ourselves. Let us just enjoy ourselves a little bit. How about you?
I had to think about this one. I was a child of the 80s and 90s. So for me, it's things like the video rental stores, like when you used to be
like
able
a
to go in and
Blockbuster
rent.
or a family video place.
MTV's original format also, where it was like where you tune in and it was always music videos. That's one that I will forever miss because those were like mini movies. Even if the song sucked, the video could be really good and it would like elevate that song to the top of the charts. Yeah. And then for me, it was a lot of toys like pogo balls. I don't know how many people remember these. They were like part pogo stick and part rubber ball. You had to be able to balance and coordinate on them, and you also needed a whole hell of a lot of luck so you didn't
like
fall
the hip hop,
phasers.
the hippity hops or whatever. It was a ball with a handle on it. Is that what you're talking about?
No, it didn't have a handle. They didn't have.
Oh, you're talking about the.
You had to you had to like stand on these things and balance and then jump up and down. You didn't have a handle or
like
anything.
a circus animal.
Kind of, yes.
I think that was just your family trying to get you to hurt yourself.
No, they were a thing.
Well, stand on this ball, Jamie.
They eventually got discontinued because so many kids were getting hurt on playgrounds.
Well, yeah. Well, that's why I miss jarts, too, the original metal tip jarts. I love those.
No, not that one, Parker. There was no handle. It's that upper, like right there. You're showing me
Oh, see,
photos.
the one with the handle I had, the bouncy, the ball with the
No,
handle, that would have been
these
fine.
didn't have handles.
All right, listen, we're going to go have a Schlitz because if we're out of Schlitz, we're out of beer and we're out of time. We'll talk to you again tomorrow. This is Daybreak. I'm Brian Noonan.
I'm Jamie Martinson. You are listening to the Civic Media Network.
All right, live stream.
Live stream. See ya.
Have a Schlitz.
Have a Schlitz.